Maximizing melee damage. That's what we're here to talk about today, and we have loads of stuff. Tons of sims, unit builds for each of the newer melee nukes from the past year, and some from even beyond that. We'll talk about where everyone else fits as far as categories. I have kept track of each of the true damage, effective attack, and boost damage that each of these units get, and we'll talk about that at the very end when we talk about how to predict whether a unit is going to be good or not, because we saw some definite trends there. But I need to know in the comments, who is your go-to melee nuke? Because we're going to talk about it because you have lots of options at this point. Let me know. The rubric is up first, and the biggest thing we're going to talk about is killing power. But next up to that is mobility, and that is how you get the damage to the enemy. This is an important thing and can be compensated with a team, but if you can get it from your unit itself, then that is all the better. Survivability is key, but keep in mind this is a threshold. It's like the old speed used to be. You need to have enough survivability to get the hits off that you need to get off. Past that though, and it ends up being a bit of a waste. Uniqueness has always been a big thing, and with the speed of the game, it feels like that goes away quicker, but there are certain units that really stand out in that regard. And the last thing we will measure these units on is support, because being able to support your team right now is just something that nukes get to do. The hybrid nuke unit that has roll compression from everywhere is here to stay, and we have to measure these units against that. If you're looking at what each nuke gets, I have a highlight over here, and this is, so we are using this offense with Asker, so we get Resonant Blades, Resonant Shields. You have Rune that gives out Empathy, as well as Orders, but that's not so much a big deal. You have then Peony, who gives out Neutralizes Penalties and Desperation. With the way teams are made right now, and particularly with the safety fence too, it's not real hard to get Desperation on a unit because you have all the time in the world. In some of the other modes though, specifically for Arena and Summoner duels, that can be harder to get, but it is critical for units right now. Let's move on to the Gauntlet. All right, this is the defense that I've been putting all of these units up against. Understand, it is very important to know, this is not a defense you want to field, but it gives as much support to the individual near save as possible. You have Miracle from Rhea, you have Piercing, you have Resonant Shields, you have Divine Nectar, Fell Spirit, and you do have Exposure. Middle of the turn exposure is becoming more and more common, and I would say it is absolutely necessary to demolish some of these teams that are coming out right now. As far as the units that are in that slot that I'm showing, you have Rhea, Nidhogr, Hector, Marnie, and Khorne. Understand, I am not necessarily going for the optimized build here. One of the main things I'm going for is common builds, but there are other things I'm looking at. This is not an optimal build for Khorne, but we did need a lower end near save that most units could take out just as a baseline. Marnie is up there simply because of how common she is in Arena and how often you're going to be up against her. As far as the other three, they highlight how different you need to be as a nuke in order to succeed. Nidhogr has just raw flat damage. Rhea has the incredibly annoying Miracle effect, and of course we have Hector, who has Shield Fighter in this case and is a problem all on his own. We're going to go over results for each one of these units versus these guys. Keep in mind they do have an attack defense -7. Last thing I want to talk about, for each of these tiers, I ran a proof of concept. This is important. We have simulations, but simulations aren't worth much without real-world data to compare them to. For each of these tiers, I take one specific unit, and we talk about how these units go up against a specific counter. Now, what I'm about to show you is going to rock the way you feel about the meta right now. Here is the best build for Legendary Xander, and we're going to see him go up against Rhea. Understand that Elise is just there to have an extra person so that he gets the extra movement. That's it. Otherwise, the only support is that Plumeria. And he is about to wallop this unit. Look at this. So, we have one hit,
you
two
die
hits. the meta is changing, and we're going to talk about why that is and what exactly you're going to be using. The rest of the proof of concepts are going to be up against Black Knight so that we are able to get him in. He's not in the Sims yet, so I wanted to make sure we got some view of how he's doing. Let's move on to E tier though. E tier is full of units that have handicapped themselves. And keep in mind, I haven't included everyone who could possibly be in here, but these are units that have some kind of preference weapon or skill that makes it good enough that you need to use it, but it doesn't include true damage. And you'll see in a bit here, but you want every single passive to have some kind of true damage in it. So we have Edelgard as an example here, and this is the definition of a spam showcase. We have true damage from Sakura and Plumeria, we have bonus doubler from Eikþyrnir, we have detect on Marisa, and we have Hajimari. Well, if you notice, I'm waiting till turn 4 to make sure that I get treachery and all of the buffs that I possibly can out of her. And Edelgard's going to finally get a move on here, and yes, she does take out Black Knight. It took an entire team to do it though. That's kind of where these units are at. If you absolutely want to use them, you can, but it's a tough haul in order to get everything working. Let's look at the full list that I have here, and keep in mind this doesn't include everyone, but I wanted examples of specific units. Obviously, the extra actions are what you're after with Edelgard, and it's very, very difficult to get rid of those. For Seiðr, these are the units that don't have good arcane weapons just yet. Mainly lances and swords. We're still waiting. Anything with an arcane giant axe or even any of the new ranged units can really do a lot of damage though, and you get a lot of use out of those. You have units with support that is just tough to get rid of. Valencia and the warping specifically in Arena is invaluable and so good for your team, especially if you have armors. The last example I have here is Ingrid, who is really supposed to be more of an AoE unit and is set up that way, and AoEs are just absolutely nerfed right now. That is no longer a good way to go. It used to be that any unit you could make good through AoEs. That's not the case anymore. So this is E tier. Let's move on and see how D tier works. D tier is the grunts. These units can slog it out if they have enough support, but they need heavy investment and oftentimes some sort of trick. And keep in mind, there are a lot of them out there, but I want to show you what I mean by this Thórr. And keep in mind, most of the time this Thórr is set up to take damage and then reflect it back. But we're going to look at this unit a little differently as she takes on Black Knight. So what you're going to notice is this unit has more defense than BK does, and that shuts off Hardy Bearing. Because of that, you're going to get 3 hits in and absolutely demolish him. Now, do we take credit for having just amazing amounts of damage coming out of this unit? Yes, absolutely we do. But we had to be a little tricky in order for things to work. Every unit has their trick, and you're going to want to be able to get around those if you're going to want to succeed in a lot of these modes, because these things get more and more convoluted as we go. But let's start to get into the units.
I am absolute.
Fallen Edelgard just got a refine, and it is okay. I think everyone was hoping this was going to be a unit that really doubled down on the player phase potential, and instead they gave her a little bump in that and a larger bump in basically how bulky this unit was. The thing is, nukes hit really, really hard right now, and we're about to go over how hard exactly that they hit. But there are a lot of people who still want to use this unit as a nuke. If we look at just the breakdown for Twin Crest power, I mean, you have Slaying, HP +3, inflicts attack defense -7 on closest foes and foes within 2 spaces, and you get panic and exposure. We've talked about this, but you really need mid-turn panic and exposure. Otherwise, a lot of times it gets cleansed. You get Beast Transformation out of there, and start of combat you get inflicts attack defense -7 on foe, neutralizes units attack defense penalties, true damage of 20% of the defense, which is great, prevent units and foes follow-up, and if foe is within 3x3 centered area, they get attack defense -12 during combat, and damage reduction of 20% of defense. That's nice, but again, you would have liked for this unit to absolutely double down on what she does best, which is kill things. You do have the extra action though, and just like Summer Edelgard, that is something worth using this unit a lot of times. Armored Wall is worthless. Just don't use it. I have the description here. Trust me though, there are better ways to go. This is probably my best ideal build for this unit, and this is essentially Valentines Edelgard's kit transferred over. You have the team that we talked about. Right now, I'm using Valentines Edelgard as a support. The mid-turn debuffs to speed and defense, as well as the exposure, is just so good. The other really interesting thing I've done here is used Briar Near Save as reflect damage, and we're going to talk about where that sits. We've already had an entire episode on this. Just know that almost every unit on here has the Eirika ring because of how critical it is. If we're looking at where this unit stacks up. Now, the way these columns work, if we're yellow, it's something that is workable but is not great. If we're green, then it's something that this unit excels in and can be utilized. If we're past that, and then this unit is elite and probably going to absolutely wreck things. One of the big things you're going to notice though is threat range is very low on this unit. Still, 21 true damage is not terrible, and 66 boost damage is quite good. What does that mean for how this unit stacks up against the opponents though? And the answer is not great. Now, this is about what we were talking about, and this is estimated. We're going to go over a little more on this, but just know that I collected so much data that it became pretty easy to see what units were going to be able to defeat what other units. Now, this unit is not going to be able to defeat Rhea or Nidhogr. Those units are likely going to absolutely demolish Fallen Edelgard. But this unit does have enough bulk to survive Hector and Marnie and Corrin, which is not nothing. But you're going to see a lot of that in this tier. This unit doesn't really excel, and this unit was on the hairy edge of being dropped down into E tier. But I still think there are things you can work with, and if you're using this unit somewhere else like Arena, I think you can still get stuff out of her. Still, this is not a great start, and Fallen Edelgard couldn't quite measure up.
I'm stronger now.
Aided Reginn is a really interesting unit, and I felt like this unit came on the cusp of a big change, and if she would have been just a little bit later, they probably would have given her better stuff. She has a lot of fun things about her, but I feel like she became Shadow Shift fodder, and of course, you know, you could use her to give your unit a funny little robot, or fodder to give the unit a cat if you got another one. So aided units are so interesting. Let's talk about what this unit has though. So we've got Dagr Wayfinder, and you have the weird Canto that only happens from turn 1 to 4. At start of turn 1 from 4, allies within 3 rows and 3 columns get attack speed +4, preempt pulse, which is good. Then you get at start of combat a bonus of an Omni +14, and that's conditional. True damage of 20% of speed, and you're going to hear my voice tick up every time I hear that because that is critical. And then damage reduction of 40% on foe's first attack. That is pierceable. And then special piercing is 100%, which is quite good. So Sather Burst, we have special effects. Boosted damage equals 50% of speed. It's adaptive. From turn 1 through 4, you get cooldown -2 on the first and the follow-up attack, which is nice. And then you get an unpierceable 40% DR on foe's next attack. So this is okay. This is probably the minimum of what we would call good right now. If we look at the way we're going to build this unit. Now, you're going to see this build a lot, and secretly, IS has decided that it wants to make all melee calves viable as long as they have true damage in their preference weapon. I don't understand it, but we'll go with it. But Blue Skies, Potent Assault, and Attack Speed and Sight Hone are the build. You're going to get sick of me saying it. this is what we're going up against and what we're going to be using. If we're looking at the stats on this unit, you get a true damage of about 32. It's still in that yellow range, and that is the most important one that we want to be green. Boosted damage, however, is 71, and that is quite good. And then, of course, we have a range of 4. The results that pop out are pretty interesting. You have the easy win with Khorne, but you also beat Marnie, which is fairly nice and something to keep in mind if this unit is giving you trouble in Arena Assault. Hector is at a standstill because it is really hard to get through Shield Fighter, and you're going to see that a lot with Hector. But Nidhogr and Rhea, who are the biggest near saves right now, this unit just doesn't cut it against those, and those are the most important to be able to get through. Overall, this unit needed more true damage from somewhere, be that from Seithr Burst or from Dagr Wayfinder. She just wasn't able to get it. This is still decent, and if you wanted to use this unit, I think you could do that quite well.
Here to entertain me?
Next up, we have Dagr, and if you listen to enough DTM, he always makes fun of this unit to being worse than her original form, and he's not wrong. That is almost exactly right. There are some neat things about this unit, and it's nice to have another unit that can give out Pathfinder. Pathfinder can be incredibly powerful in a variety of different modes. If we look at exactly what the weapon and preference skill are giving us, we have the weapon with Slaying. At the start of turn, you get attack speed +6 to unit and allies within 3 rows, 3 columns, as well as no follow-up to those units. At the start of combat, if unit initiates combat or has an ally within 3 rows, 3 columns, you get a bonus. And I normally have the Omni thing written out here in the max, but this is, they use X a bit here. So this is attack speed, defense res +X, and X is 5 + 3 times nearby allies. That's a max of 14. Remember that number. You have null penalties, null guard, and true damage of 14. You also have a flat DR equals 50% of 14, and special TR equals 50% of 14. You notice this is like a lot of other weapons, but most weapons don't give them to you conditionally. It's just flat out. And 14 true damage is also not the highest. I would have rather that been in the 20 to 25 range, honestly. You're going to see it in the Sims and what that really ends up being. As far as the preference skill that I'm not even going to try to pronounce here, you grant Pathfinder to support partner, and if there's no support partner, to the units with highest defense, and that can only be to 1 unit so that you can't spam this. At start of combat, you inflict attack defense -X. X equals 5 plus foe's visible bonus times 2, and DR reduction equals 50% and restores 7 HP to unit after combat. And of course, this unit also has Pathfinder. That is a lot of things, but we talked about this is so much conditional and so many things that are just short. Normally, if you have something that conditional, you want the peak to be really good. And in this case, they made the peak average. So you have to jump through hoops to get an average result. I don't understand, but this is what we're looking at here. Now, because we have that preference B skill, you can't put something there with true damage, and it really, really hurts this unit. But Slice with Sparrow is just so good right now. You have Hay Slice, which I'm going to put on almost every unit because of how much it puts out both damage and gives damage reduction for that survivability factor, which is excellent. Eirika Ring on everyone here, and Endless Tempest, which I think is a lot of fun and helps with buffs on the opponent. Past that, attack speed finish is probably my go-to for all infantry units. I know you have to be within 3 to get the additional 5 true damage, but 5 true damage can really put you over the edge. So, how did this unit fare? The true damage we talked about is just so low. 24 is just not gonna cut it. I want that to be in the green for almost every unit. We do get a little bit of a bump in the boost damage, but you notice I kind of offset this unit because I needed them to be seeable, but that is so close to the threshold. Overall, this unit is borderline and has a threat range of 4 with that Endless Tempest. What does that mean for simulations, though? And going through this This unit gets the easy win with Corrin. The problem is you're putting Hay Slice on this unit, and for a unit of this caliber and what this unit wants to do, you're just not going to want to have Eirika Ring on her, and that's going to hurt a lot. She ties Marnie, survives Hector, absolutely loses to Nidhogr, and does survive Rhea. The survivability is something you want to pay attention to and can come in really handy. But against most of the nukes that this unit is going to go up against, she's just not going to stand a chance. So, is it great that she has Pathfinder and gives that out? Yes, absolutely. Does she have particularly spectacular results? No. But because she has that unique ability she hands out, she can be usable. And it might even be better to double down on a survivability build as opposed to a nuke build, because honestly, she's just not going to cut it as a nuke.
There is nothing to fear.
Sigurd surprised me that he made it up this high, honestly. I thought Sigurd had kind of gone by the wayside, but he has some really interesting things, and if you're using him specifically in Arena, I think you can have a lot of fun with this unit. As a primary nuke, we're about to look at him, and let's just glance at Hallowed Tyrfing. We have Slaying and Preempt Pulse, which is going to help you get Holy Knight 2 off. You have, at the start of combat, if unit initiates, you have an Omni +5, you have a guaranteed follow-up, you have DR equals 40%, which is pierceable, you have 7 HP healing, and then if HP is above 25%, you have an Omni +4, and a bonus equals spaces moved +1, max of 4. So you get a bit of a clash effect. We have true damage equals 15% of attack, which again is kind of low, and then you have a null bonuses for attack and defense. Let me just say, I had to read that Omni +4 several times to make sure that was correct, because Omni +4? That is, I don't know. I don't know why they choose some of the numbers they do. Holy Knight 2. Start of turn, you get extra movement +1, and we've seen how good extra movement is. It is very, very nice to have. You get 40% DR, and that is not pierceables. That is excellent. You get boosted damage of 30% of attack, and then after combat, if special triggered, grants to all units extra movement, attack, defense +6, and you get the whole DR equals 40%. Even at the time when this unit released, this felt like it was a little dated, and it still does now. There are still some really interesting things to be done with this unit, and if you can crank up the survivability, it really creates some shenanigans on defense, but ultimately it's hard to make this unit hit hard enough. Let's take a look though, and we've got the standard Blue Skies 4 Potent Assault and Attack Speed Insight Hone, and this unit has a little bit of true damage from Hallowed Tyrfing. That is enough to make this unit decent, and if we look at where this unit ends up sitting, 27 true damage ultimately just is not enough. The other thing is, I really expected more boost damage. The problem is you can't get rid of Holy Knight 2. It really makes this unit who he is, and getting rid of it, you might as well also get rid of the sword and just have just have the next arcane sword as well. And at that point, I mean, you don't even have a unit that scores well, because arcane units don't score. So I don't know what to do with this. You do have decent range at 5, but you're going to see this unit has trouble killing things. And ultimately, I mean, Rhea and Nidhogr just demolish this entire tier. You survive Hector. I can't believe you survive Corrin. Why is this unit up this high? This unit actually takes out Marnie. And this unit is most likely an arena unit. I don't know that you're going to be using him anywhere else. And if you're going to tell me that this specific arena unit can keep all of the stuff that makes him Sigurd and take out one of the most prolific armors in all of the modes that this unit is supposed to go up against, I'm gonna look at this unit more favorably. We talk a lot about role players here, but for units that aren't fresh off the release wagon, you want a unit that can at least do something. And this unit takes out Marnie. You have to give respect to that, and it's where you're going to be using this unit. So Sigurd gets a pass, and if you're still using this unit as a score bot, this is a good way to do it.
An Emblem Strength!
Marth is another unit that came out right at the cusp of when things were just absolutely changing for what damage was supposed to be. And at the time, being able to hit as many times as this unit did with full damage was crazy. And I was using this unit in Arena, and I just never hit anything that stopped me. And then Nerþuz came around, and that completely changed. That is unfortunate because this unit is really meant to be a melee nuke and doesn't have a whole lot of other rules. There are some ways you can salvage him though, and let's talk about what this weapon does. We have Hero King Sword with Slaying, effective versus dragons, which can be good, particularly against some of the dragons that are coming out right now. At the start of combat, you get Omni plus X, and X is 20% of speed plus 5. You get damage reduction of 40%, and that is pierceable. You get 50% piercing, and then you get a follow-up before foe's next attack. So, you get built-in desperation, which is incredibly handy. As far as Lodestar Rush, and this gets kind of interesting, so you get boosted damage of 40% of speed, you get Null Guard, and then you get that 100% potent. Normally you get it reduced as you go on. This unit gets 100% every single hit. If you have Brave on this unit, which of course we do, that means you get 5 hits at full power. And then you get non-pierceable DR, which is 40%. So, this unit, if we're going to be building him, needs Slice with Sparrow. We're still waiting for the Blue Skies for infantry units, which is more true damage, basically. And then Potent Finish, which unfortunately is a little worse than what we have in Potent Assault, but is still very good. 15 true damage out of that, and 7 flat DR is not bad at all. And then I have Endless Tempest in order for this unit to get where he needs to be, as well as, you know, something to take off debuffs, which in Arena, we still have a ton of those. Attack Speed Finish 3 gets you that additional true damage, which can be very nice. I've played with a lot of builds, and this is your go-to build for this unit right now. I really like Potent Finish. I have played with Speed Taker 4, and some of the results you get are better versus these tanks. But I think as a unit, I would rather have Finish and be able to take a wider range of units out as opposed to Speed Taker, which really kind of takes away from what this unit has that makes him special and takes out a very narrow range of units, albeit some of the more prolific ones. Let's look at the stats here. True damage of 25. That's where if we had Speed Taker, this would definitely bump up by at least 10 there, which would make him usable. Boosted damage of only 46. That's another way you'd really want that higher. Again, the big thing with this unit is to be able to do those low levels of true damage and boosted damage, but over and over and over again. And then a threat range of 4 since we do have Endless Tempest. Those are all yellows, but we're going to see here, we do take out Marnie and Corin. We almost take out Hector. We're very, very close, but 8 is still enough to consider that not enough. Keep in mind that is 5 hits. 5 hits this unit is getting on Hector and couldn't get him lower than that. Shield Fighter is just very, very nice versus specific units, and this is one of them. Nerþuz, we talked about it, but this unit is just not going to be able to take out Nerþuz unless some sort of infantry skill comes along that really helps. And the one that hurt my soul was Rhea. And I just thought he was going to do something. I mean, he has effective damage versus dragons, and that's the best he could do. But you gotta have true damage to take her on, and he just doesn't. The other thing that really hurts is that deflect melee and the fact that he only has 50% piercing. I wanted more from this unit, and that's the disappointment you hear. I do think he belongs right here in this spot, but understand that in the future, hopefully some new skills come out that help these infantry nukes do just a bit better than what they're doing. For the first time in the history of FEH, infantry units are not getting as much as the other units around, and my poor Marth is suffering because of that.
It's the Winter Festival.
we could spark an entire Winter Edelgard debate on where this unit sits, because there are some really fascinating things about this unit. But this is where I put her, and I'm going to explain why as we go on. There's a lot of neat things, and specifically being able to have multiple actions is so good. If we look at Black Yule Lance, we have Slaying, Flame Vein, which is really, really good for hit and run, even though you have a lot of Breath of Life, and you have more now that Black Knight is coming into the meta and just demolishing things. And then one of the most convoluted things you have here is this Null Miracle, which if Divine Vein Flame or you have Weapon Triangle advantage, that's what happens. I don't know. I don't know why they make some of these things so complicated, but past that, we have Start of Combat, inflicts attack defense minus X. X equals 15 minus 2 times adjacent allies, minimum of 6. Preempt pulse of Y, we're going to skip that. You get a lot of jumping there. And then DR Pierce of 100 minus 30 times adjacent allies. Generally, you want this unit to be solo, and that's just the way it is. If you do that, you're going to have a lot of good things happen. Raging Tempest, you get charge, you get +1 movement. There is a whole PM1 diagram over what has to happen for this to occur. Most of the time, specifically if you're using this unit in any sort of Aether Raids, you're going to meet those conditions. If you're using this unit in Summoner Duels, you do have to be much more aware. Even in Arena, to a lesser extent, you do, because of some of the diagonalness of how these maps are working. But we have in combat, if adjacent allies is less than or equal to 1, inflicts attack defense minus 5 on foe. True damage equals 15% of unit's attack, and of course, Gale Force. Now, some things that are missing. That's a low true damage, that 15% of attack. And you notice we're not getting any from the preference weapon. That is a problem, and if we look at the build, we're going to try to remedy that with Sly Sturdy Blow and even Attack Wave in. Now, this is an interesting thing. If you are in a mode where you don't have to worry about cleansing, I do like the Ploy skill a lot. But I was really trying to maximize true damage, and I was assuming that I was going to have to go against something that cleansed penalties. Hence the Attack Wave in. Attack Wave in is an interesting skill because you have to meet an attack check in order to get the true damage out of it. Still, it can be useful, specifically in this case, and I did put Armored Blaze on here. It gives you some DR as well as being able to hit back fairly hard. There could be a case to use something else there. For a while, they were using an AoE build on Edelgard. The problem now is, again, that's not where it's at right now. So, true damage of 22. Boosted damage of 23. And a threat range of 4. That's painful. So you're probably wondering, what in the world happened to get this unit to a level that you put her up this high? Well, because of the Null Miracle, she just demolishes Rhea, and that just surprised the heck out of me. I was not expecting that. Neithogre blasts her out of the water, Marnie laughs at her, and Corrin, Corrin's our easy button, and she even loses to Corrin. But she wins against Hector. This is such a weird unit, and a lot of that is because of how many times this is hitting, and you get effective damage, and Hector has apparently a weakness with Edelgard. Also, that Armored Blaze is going off at exactly the right time, but better to be lucky than good, I guess, and Edelgard in this case is fairly lucky. So, that's why this unit is high. She loses 3 out of the 5 matches, but man, those 2 matches she wins, one of them's Rhea, and the other's Hector. I even double-checked to make sure that this wasn't... there's a little checkbox that you can have Gale Force go off over and over and over, and that wasn't the case. So, yeah, what can I say here? Armored Blaze with Eirika Ring is something powerful that's going to absolutely smack things. There we go.
A warrior is owed respect.
Thórr is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating to me. And there are a lot of things. We showed right at the top of this tier list the whole video of Thórr not using the boost damage, which what makes her special. And the thing that she did was out defense BK, and that was it. That's what happened. That's really not the way you want to use that. And we're going to go more into how you want to use this unit. This unit has insane amounts of boost damage. Let's look at War God Mjolnir. So we have Slaying, effective against armor, Canto 2. At the start of combat, if HP is greater than or equal to 25%, you get attack +6. You get foes attack -6. You get a guaranteed follow-up, no bonuses. True damage equals 15% of attack, which we talked about is not high. Flat DR equals 15% of attack. Boosted damage equals total damage reduction from first hit. And then special piercing of 100%. Okay. I want to go over World Breaker first, and we're going to double back to that. But that boosted damage is key here, and I want to look at it in just a second. So World Breaker, so you get warp range equals 2. So units can have basically it's an omni warp for anyone who wants to move 2 spaces away from Thórr. As far as combat effects, you get attack defense res +5, special cooldown +1 per attack, and preempt pulse equals -2. Okay, combat effects. Allies within 3 spaces get attack defense res +4, special cooldown +1 per attack, and preempt pulse -1. So let's look at the build, and I want to talk a little bit about this unit. I still have World Breaker on there because the Omni Warp is so powerful, and even with positioning, it is very, very good. And as an Astra Mythic, getting your units in the right spot can be incredibly handy. There's also some other things that does, but as far as doing damage, I probably could have done better, but it ended up like it is. Wyvern Rift, and you remember that has a speed defense check. So if this unit's speed and defense are greater than the opponent's speed and defense, that's when the effects kick in. And I've just got to say, 23 speed doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind the units that I have her going up against. That defense and that speed are enough for this unit to really be able to excel. Speaking of excel, the big thing that you want this unit to do in order to be a true powerhouse is survive. And the problem is, surviving is hard right now. Even tanks are doing just immense amounts of damage. This unit wants to come in and not have desperation and take that first hit back. If she can survive it, though, we just talked about the incredible amounts of damage that all units across the board are doing right now. This unit can reflect that back, and it can just be devastating if she lives. You want to drive Miracle on this unit, if we're being honest, but I wanted to keep the teams relatively stable for all of them so we could have kind of a level playing ground. Let's look at the stats, though, and true damage of 7. I have been telling you over and over again that true damage is what drives this game right now, and that 7 is painful. Just painful. Let's talk about this boost damage, though, because 80 is just immense. That is enough for this unit to start talking about being able to actually kill things on boost damage alone. And I don't want to make it sound like boost damage isn't important, because it absolutely is. We have seen it with this unit. We'll see it in a couple units down the way. It is something that can really, really help you and put you over the top. It is the second driver to doing damage, and that's over having good stats. True damage and boosted damage are just incredibly valuable. Let's look at what that means, though, because I keep on spouting words about this, but you really need to see it. So, Corrin is easy. The Neathhogr one is what just kills me. And keep in mind, every one of these saviors has the Eirika ring. Every one of them is hitting back twice. This unit doesn't have desperation, so she's coming in with 2 hits. Neathhogr is coming back with a special twice, and this unit is taking her out. I do wish she was able to take out Rhea, and that just doesn't happen, which is unfortunate. But, yeah. And Marnie, of all things, Marnie just stonewalls this unit. And you know why? Marnie doesn't do enough attack for it to get reflected back. which is wild. But that's what this unit is. This unit is incredible in specific cases. Nerþuz puts out so much damage that this unit can absorb enough that when she hits back, it's going to be a monstrous one. These other units, it just depends on how hard they hit. And Rhea hits medium hard, but a lot of that is what you're seeing. This unit is going down to very low HP, I believe to 1, and then actually healing from it before she hits back on Thórr. So that's where that's at there. The fact that this unit can take out Nerþuz and quite a few other big threats is why I have her up this high, and she is my highest unit in this tier because of that. The reason she's not higher, for one thing, you're seeing the kills here. It is tougher to get a mythic like this with lower threat range to do the things you want to do. Her support is also a bit dated. So, does this unit do a lot of damage? Yes. Does she do all the other things well? Kind of. And hence, top of D tier. So here we have a layout. Most of these units do something special, but it's one thing special. They don't have the whole picture. Either they just flat out don't do enough damage, or their support just isn't unique, or they can't really get where they need to go. They have multiple pieces of this. They have one piece of the puzzle, but not a full picture. We looked at, right at the beginning, being able to take out things with Thórr, though. This is a tier where you can stack the deck in your favor a lot easier than what you did with E tier and just the massive scam showcase that I showed you with Edelgard. So keep that in mind as we get going. C tier is where things really start moving, and there are a lot of fun things about this. These are role players with unique abilities, but they need good support. We have a great example right here, and what you're going to see is as we move on, you're going to need less and less support in order to take out BK. Let's look here. So we have a nice swap, and Sigurd comes in, and I said that AoEs had been devalued, but Sigurd has enough of an AoE that it just absolutely demolishes BK. Now, what did that take? That took true damage from Plumeria, and it took true damage from exposure from Detect that Marisa offered. So again, the way you were able to help that was with lots and lots of true damage. Let's get into the individual tier list players though.
Smash and bash!
If you've been watching the channel long enough, you know I love my Dagr. This is one of my most invested units, honestly, and I just keep finding different ways to use her. She is a ton of fun. Let's go over the weapon though and what you can really do with this unit. So Skin Faxi, we have speed +3, Pathfinder, and at start of turn grants Pathfinder to support partner. So we have an HP condition, and if you meet it, you get an Omni +5. I don't know. And then a Unity buff equals penalties ×2. And that's really what we talk a lot about, how stats don't matter, and what we really mean. I've talked about this in a couple different episodes, but stats need to meet a certain threshold to matter. And what we're saying is in the current meta, it is very hard to hit that threshold. Unity stacking on this unit can make you hit that threshold. There are a lot of stats you can get out of this unit with that kind of Unity buff, and this unit can be very tanky and hit very hard because of it. If you initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, inflicts attack speed defense -4, and you get a penalty on foes bonuses ×2, which in certain areas can be very good. Bonuses are being handed out more and more. Tacho has a very interesting rant on how that is just absolutely hamstringing his defenses because of all the rally traps that he likes to use, and so many buffs mean it's hard to get the right rally to do the right thing, which is kind of an interesting case altogether, but tells you where we're at in the meta. Past that, you get true damage equals 10% of units attack. We would have loved more there, but we do what we can. And then you get DR equals 40% on first hit, and that is conditional, and that is pierceable. We get Sun Twin Wing. Okay, I mean, inflicts attack speed defense -5, no follow-up, true damage equals 20% of unit speed, and you get a piercing of 50%. On paper, I would have said this is amazing, but again, we need so much out of units right now that's hard. What I ended up doing with the build is Hay Slice with Sparrow, which you just see a ton of here, and Speed Taker. You end up getting more out of Speed Taker, and the reason is it is uncapped, and this unit gets so many bonus stats if she's debuffed. It is absolutely insane. I did play with attack speed Unity. It ended up being better to have Slice with Sparrow, but understand that is an option, and it's kind of a fun one if you want to make this unit just a little bulkier as well. Past that, we have Brutal Tempest and attack speed finish 3. Be very careful on initial build. I put Endless Tempest on there. The problem is, since this unit has penalties on the unit's bonuses, you don't want that. And Brutal Tempest also gives you Canto, which is incredibly nice on this unit. Let's look at the stat lineup though. And so we get 32 true damage and a boost damage of 46. That's almost middle of the pack there, and then a threat range of 4, which is okay. Again though, this is good, and we're going to see how this stacks up in just a second, but I want to remind you that giving out Pathfinder is incredibly powerful. And this unit being bulky because of the Unity effects and of all the things going on, this unit can be a very nice support as well. This is what I'm talking about though, and this unit is abnormal because of the amount of Unity. Normally you would look at that stat line, that true damage, that boosted damage, everything about this unit, and you would think this unit was not going to be able to really cut the mustard. What happens instead is this unit just demolishes some very, very key units here. Neathogre surprised the heck out of me. Marnie is excellent to take out, and of course Corrin is kind of our threshold unit, and it's able to do that as well. It's what put this unit into C tier. C tier is very, very good. So does this unit take out Rhea, which is the most prolific near save in the game right now? No. But this is a lot of good stuff, and this is something you can build on, as well as something late in the game if you need someone to be able to clean up on your Aetherades team or on your Summoner Duels team, because you do still have the Pathfinder Cav lines. This unit can really help you out and sneakily be very good at smacking things. I will say there is an alternate way to look at this unit just to make this unit tanky as all get out with Gust and Lagoo's Friend and all of that stuff. So that is a different way you can look at this unit. For this specifically, I was looking at these units as primary nukes, which is why they get all of this extra stuff. Still though, one of my favorites. I absolutely love this unit, and I think she's still a good investment to this day.
You'll go no further.
I can hear Palla fans not so quietly celebrating over this spot. This unit is nice in this spot. That's all I can say. We talked about it on the Refines video, but this unit's Refine is very focused, and I love that for Palla fans. We didn't have the thing with Edelgard where they were trying to do too many things. This unit wants to smack things hard. And in a lot of ways, they helped you out. Now, this is one of the very few units on this list that doesn't have some kind of preference skill or special. You get Canto 2, you get Dual Phase Brave, Adaptive Damage, which doesn't really matter in the meta right now, but True Damage equaling 20% of the unit's defense is very nice. Attack Defense Res +5 and Inflicts Speed -5. Start of turn, you get If Within 2 spaces of an ally, grants Attack Defense +6 to unit and allies, grants null penalties to units and allies, which is very good by the way, and grants +1 movement to unit and flying allies, which does not stack. So, getting 1 extra movement off the bat frees up the... that and the Dual Phase Brave frees this up for Marthring to make up for the lack of slaying, which is just drives me crazy. Why didn't they do slaying here? I don't know, but past that, start of combat, if within 3 spaces of an ally you get a bonus equals 10% of defense +5 to attack defense and res. I don't know why they do these crazy things. And then a DR of 20% of defense. That's flat DR. That is very nice. And then 7 HP post healing. Here's how we're going to build this unit. So we still have Potent Assault, but I love Trample. One of the things I don't talk about enough here is how hard it is to get desperation. And the main way you're going to get it is through Firestorm Dance. I mean, you're not going to have access to Lyn every time, and some teams just can't fit her on in general. If you do, that's very nice, but most of the time you would love for a unit to be self-sufficient, and Trample makes that possible, which is incredible. Deadly Miasma is another thing that really gets underrated and adds some nice damage to what you're doing. All in all, this is a fantastic kit, and if you're going to build Palla, this is the way to do it. Now, let's look at where the stats come out, and 45 true damage is very respectable. That is nice, and that combined with a 46 boosted damage, we talked about it most of the time, you're going to be good in one or the other. This unit being good in true damage as opposed to boosted damage is a better way to go, or I should say a shorter path to success than the other way around. And then we get a threat range of 4 because of the extra movement you get out of the weapon. What does that mean, though? This is so frustrating. The Hector win is fantastic, right? That's just great. And the Marnie win is great, and the Corrin win is good. Now, keep in mind, this is estimated because this unit isn't in the sims yet, but I've looked at enough of these that I know where this unit sits, and she's just not going to be able to take on Neathogr for sure, and she's not going to be able to take on Rhea. Now, there is a possibility that she survives Rhea because of the flat DR this unit gets and a lot of the other things. It is possible that the 2 hits from Rhea don't take her out, so keep that in mind. I should have make that a draw. Really, I don't think that changes the position, although in the individual tier, it might have bumped her up a few spaces. Still, Palla fans, you gotta be happy with this. Like, this unit is very, very good. For Refine, I think this is very usable and someone who you can plug in and have a lot of fun with. And honestly, with Refines right now, sometimes that's the best you can ask for.
You can't hide from me.
There are a couple of units that I got to and I was like, really? They rank this high? And this is absolutely one of them. I did not expect Brother Odor to be this high. I expected Odor to be in E or D tier, and Cavs have really gotten a nice boost lately with all of those skills. Let's talk about what makes this good, though, and this is Otto Wolfenhather. I think I got that one right. Slang, attack +3, Canto 3 for turns 1 through 4, which drives me crazy. So at the start of turn, if you meet an HP check to unit and allies within 2, you get Null Terrain and Incited. Both of those are kind of underrated. Incited is very nice as just an additional thing to stick on. It's not going to be a driver in what makes this unit good, but the extra attack, I find myself being very happy I have it a lot of times. At start of combat, if you meet an HP check, you get attack, defense, res +5, and you get a penalty, which is a bonus reversal ×2 per stat. And then true damage equals 20% of defense. Have to have true damage, otherwise this unit is not going to be ranking that high. As far as combat effects, if unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get attack +6, inflicts attack -6, a guaranteed follow-up, and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. And then we get special piercing equals 100%. That's very important. That is on a special trigger, but that is very nice to have. As far as the special goes, you're going to get a boosted damage of 50% of the higher of unit or foe's defense, and then a non-pierceable DR of 40%. So all of this is the makings of something interesting, but let's head to the build and just take a look. It's Blue Skies 4, Potent Assault, attack speed, insight, hone. I know that's double dipping with insight, but you still get a lot of stats out of that C skill. It's not perfect, but it's still pretty good. There is a conversation to be had with whether you want Brutal Shell or Haze Slice. The fact that Brutal Shell will proc instantly is really what makes me put it on here instead, and I didn't see a significant difference in the sims. Let's look what the stats are, though. And so true damage of 28 and boosted damage of 30 and threat range of 4. Immediately, this should be a red flag. And I mean, basically, I've been explaining all of these things, and this unit doesn't really check the boxes. The problem is you're just going to be hitting with that special so much. It's It's very nice, and that means that, again, we talked about... I mean, if it's a low level of boosted damage, but if it does cross the threshold and you're hitting 5 times with it, it adds up a lot. And in this particular case, I mean, you take out Neithogr, which is really nice. You take out Marnie and Corin. This is one of those things, you have outliers in everyone. And I have this set formula that you either want high boosted damage or high true damage, and this unit just absolutely defies that and says, screw you, I'm Odor, and I'm going to kill things anyway. So I'm going to use special spamming, which is old, and it's going to work for me because I want to be contradictory, and that is Odor. Odor doesn't take out Rhea, so Odor. But doesn't take out Hector either. But the fact that he doesn't take out Rhea is troublesome. He actually comes kind of close. So it feels like if you gave him just a little bit more support, but we're already giving these units so much support. The fact that he takes out Neithogr, though, it's probably something you could look at in Arena Assault, and that is an interesting matchup there. Marnie is another one. Again, I mean, I'm already looking at this and wondering about Arena Assault, and then Corin as well. The bonus that this unit gives with ignoring terrain is also very, very nice. All in all, I'm not saying I don't have this unit ranked up in the higher tiers, but this unit is solid. This unit is a lot better than we give him credit for, and this was a surprising result. The problem is this build is expensive. Blue Skies and Potent Assault are both hard to get skills. I don't know that attack speed insight is something you need on this specific unit, but those other two are something you need. So take a look at this unit, though, and give him another try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
To ensure a good year.
The theme of this entire tier is surprise. Just honest to God. Tana, I did not think was going to make it up this high, and it really makes me feel good about all of the people who invested into this unit as a score bot, because she is incredibly good in Arena, and honestly, with these results, could be good elsewhere as well. Let's look at what we have. So, Snaking Sword, you have Canto, you have Start of Combat, if HP is greater than or equal to 25%, inflicts speed defense, attack -14 on foe, NFU, special cooldown +1 per attack, and preempt pulse. Listen, if you've got a good inheritable sword, it can't be an arcane sword because you really want to keep Heavenly Wings, but there's a lot you could do with this unit if you just had an inheritable sword that did somewhat significant true damage. Keep a lookout for that. Just that is for you folks who use this unit a lot. Heavenly Wings has Slaying and then the crazy warping, and allies within 2 spaces can warp within 2 spaces of this unit, and if unit entered combat or used an assist, allies can warp within 2 spaces of unit. That is an incredible amount of mobility. And then at start of combat, if unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get an Omni +14, true damage of 20% of speed, and DR equals 20% of speed, which is flat DR, which is very nice. So the question is, can we tape over the lack of true damage with a build? And that's always the question, right? And for this unit, we're not going to use Trample because we need as much true damage as possible. We're going to go with Blue Skies and SD Hold Guide. So here's the part where you ask, why in God's name are you using SD Hold Guide? The mobility that it gives this unit is really, really nice. And if you think about how this unit works, being able to warp over another unit at 2 spaces and attack someone, and at that point everyone can warp around her, the use case is incredible. If you're maximizing damage, Deadly Miasma is it. Deadly Miasma is the one you want to do. I personally like SD Hold Guide a little better, although it is admittedly not optimal because there is some overlap between Heavenly Skies and Hold Guide in general. So keep that in mind. This isn't an optimal build, but I really like the mobility on her, and I didn't find Deadly Miasma to bump her up any. It didn't change any of the matchups. If we're looking at true damage, we have 20 and boosted damage of 46. But again, with that SD hold guide, you get a range of 5, which is really nice. But again, these numbers aren't substantial. Like this is not something you're going to be writing home about. This is decent, but this feels like something that's going to fail. And then you look at the results. See, the reason this is so high, I mean, you tie with Rhea and Hector. Nidhogr blows you out of the water, but you do defeat Marnie and Corin. And the support for the team, the extra mobility is really, really nice. So in addition to the support, and keep in mind, surviving means that your entire team can warp around you and do damage. The combination of all of that, I feel like warrants this placement of her. And I'm fairly happy with this. The survivability is very nice. I do wish she could do at least survive versus Nidhogr, because you see Nidhogr so much in Arena, which is one of the main places you're going to use this unit. But I mean, overall, I can't complain about this. I think this is still very solid and someone you can use. The fact that she can take out Marnie with her being an Arena unit is incredibly good and something that you're going to have a lot of fun with if you have her. So, I've heard rave reviews about her. I think this holds up to why those reviews are so good. And I think Tana's a great unit.
Your back's to the sea.
The Nerþuz crew are absolute diehards, and so I hope I make them happy with this placement, because they will come for me. No joke. But honest to God, this is a pretty good unit. I'm kind of a fan. I had forgotten all of the things she has, and she has aged well. Let's talk about what that means, and in particular look at her kit. So, Love of Nerþuz, you have Slaying, you have Beast Transformation, which is actually quite good since they updated it. At start of combat, if HP is greater than or equal to 25%, you get a bonus to Omni plus 14, that is conditional. You get no follow-up. You get a DR of 40%, which is okay. And then to allies within 3 rows and 3 columns, and to unit, you get special piercing of 100%. And then you get preempt pulse, which is nice. This is not bad. The thing you're missing there is true damage. And so, I mean, that's the first thing you should be asking is, where's the true damage? We'll get to that. Under the Sun, you have Canto 2, and then start of combat, you get inflicts speed defense -5 on foe, null guard, true damage of 20% of speed, so we get a little bit there, and then damage reduction of 5% of speed with that flat DR. And then next attack, you have the reflective damage, and then 7 HP healing. So, what's the difference between this unit and Thórr? Why do I have this unit higher? Let's look at the build for one, and this is part of it. Now, you can't do Blue Skies on Beast, but we do have Sly Swift Sparrow and Attack Speed and Sight Hone. And we have Nimble Beast, which is an excellent addition, and I'm a big fan of the new Beast specials. This still doesn't look like anything special, though, and I wouldn't be jumping up and down. But then we see the results, and I want to... So, true damage of 17. Boosted damage of 112. So, Nimble Beast is nice, and you add on reflective damage, and things go a little crazy for this unit. I think it's better if we just go straight to the Sims and show you what I mean by crazy. And I mean, this is really good. So Nidhogr is excellent. You just smack her down. You get close to Rhea, and what that really means, you see 18 a lot with Rhea. That's the amount that she's healing back. So you needed a little bit more true damage in order, or one more special hit in order to really make that work. Hector, the big problem with Hector actually doesn't hit back as hard as these other units, because these other units are generally hitting back with specials. But she demolishes Marnie, demolishes Corin. This is fairly respectable, and this unit is going to really do you a lot of good if you have her built up. I was surprised by this. I think the amount of damage that she does and the amount that she survives is significant enough to put her in this position. The additional help that she gives her teammates is also very good. So I was surprised here, and I think if you are a Nerþuz lover, then you are pretty happy, and it explains why I keep hearing how amazing this unit is. The theme of this is these are very good units that just need the right support. You can imagine with a little more true damage, if we pushed it that way, Rhea and Hector are going to be going down as well. So that is something to watch out for. If you see a Nerþuz, you are probably want to steer clear because that unit is about to just blast you out of the water.
My condolences.
And in other news, I cannot believe how good Caeda is. I feel like this is the Apology Tour tier list because these are so many units that I didn't know were going to rank this high. And Caeda's another one. Caeda got a very, very good refine that kind of flew under the radar for a lot of us. For what she can do in Arena and for even what she does beyond, I think this unit can do you a lot of good and be a serious role player, which is what you want out of this tier. If we're looking at Wing Lifted Spear, you get Canto, Slang, effective against armor and cavalry. You get grants attack +3, and if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get an Omni +5. A Spectrum buff equals foes visible bonuses, so you want the enemy to have bonuses. A Spectrum penalty equals foes visible bonuses, so that reflects the bonuses back on them and gives them to you. True damage equals a very complicated formula and a max of 25. So that is the statuses, and you wish that was uncapped like it was with Hræsvelgr, but 25 is still very, very good and right where we want to be. You get an in-combat bonus of basically an Omni +11. That's conditional, but it's based on bonuses or bonuses and penalties. You're probably going to get there. And then damage piercing of 50%. Then at the start of player or enemy phase, if within 2 spaces of an ally, you get grants, attack speed +6 to unit and allies. You get null penalties, and then you get special charge +1 per attack. That's a good weapon. There's a lot of things to like about that weapon, especially in any place where you have bonuses. It's very good. Faithful Loyalty 2, if armored or cavalry foe initiates combat, you get Vantage. During combat, inflicts attack speed, defense -5 on foe, has no follow-up. If foe is armored or cavalry, you get a flat DR equals highest visible buffs among unit and allies within 2 spaces. That's actually a lot of flat DR. And if foe is not armored or cavalry, you get a DR of 40% of X. X equals the highest visible buffs nearby. And then after combat, you get 7 healing, and you get Vantage for everyone after combat. So, how are we going to build this unit? Because we have a lot to work with there. The hard thing for me is that we had to get rid of the B skill, because I really, really like that. And we end up with Trample, which gives us Desperation, which is very good. Haze Slice. Then we get the Potent Assault and the SD Hold Guide. In contrast, I didn't like SD Hold Guide on Tana very much. I love it on Caeda. I think it is fantastic on her, and this is a great kit, especially for an arena unit, but I mean, you can use her in a lot of different places. This is a good kit and synergizes a lot with what she's doing. Let's look at what the total stats are, though. So we've got a true damage of 45 and a base damage of 53. We're crossing thresholds in both areas there, as well as a threat range of 5. What you should really be asking is, why is this unit this low? Let's look at the sims here, and this is why. So this is tough, guys. Rhea, she defeats nicely. Nidhogr, she defeats nicely. Hector, I'm not sure that the Hector matchup really swayed me. The Marnie matchup absolutely did, and especially with this unit, this unit being so focused on arena and not being able to take out Marnie just broke my heart. This unit is on the upper end of this tier and is very good, but it meant that I wasn't able to move her any higher. That is just like Legendary Sigurd was bumped up because he could take out Marnie. This unit gets a little bit of a hit of that because contextually it's so important. Still, this is really good. If you're a Caeda fan, you've got to be happy with this. The additional support she offers through SD Hull Guide is nice, but she's not a support queen. So that is an area where she's a little bit lacking, where other units have very strong support leanings. This unit does not. This unit wants to just absolutely destroy things. So what do? If you have Caeda merged up, then you go out and demolish things not named Marnie. Unfortunately, Marnie is the near save of Arena, and Caeda loves Arena, so use her elsewhere, though. I mean, Rhea. Look at that Rhea matchup. That's fantastic. Be happy about that.
You think this is a game?
Here's where things get personal, because Felix down in this tier is going to hurt some folks. And I stand by this. I have experienced the drop-off of this unit, and with the new bulk right now, he's gonna need some additional help from something else in order to bump him up. The problem is both his preferences are core to what this unit is, and they're not bad enough for you to want to give up by a long shot. This is a good tier. These are very good role players, but this unit is a role player, and this unit is not even a year old, so that stings just a little bit. Let's look at what this unit does, and New Levin Sword has Slaying ×2, which is very nice. Distant counter and adaptive damage, and then at start of combat, you get an Omni +5, a bonus equals 15% of speed, null guard, and 50% DR Pierce. So, Lone Wolf. I mean, right off the bat though, Levin Sword, we talk about budgets, and essentially somewhere in IS they have a point value assigned to each of these effects, and they can only put in so high of a point value in, and I really do believe they have something like this. The problem, I think distant counter and adaptive damage were two things that you would have rather had something else. We've seen it time and time again, but any of these hybrid units, this unit was supposed to be hit and sit. So this unit is supposed to go in, hit things really hard, and then tank. You always have trouble upgrading them because they want to do so much, and so much of their budget has been used somewhere else. That's not to say this unit is bad. This is a very good unit. This is the top of C tier, and C tier is very, very usable. But you have Lone Wolf past that. You get Phantom Speed +7. If no assist used or received this turn, you get Gale Force and Isolation post-action, which is, I mean, what this unit is really known for. And then at start of combat, you get Attack Speed Defense Res -5, True Damage equals to 20% of speed, and Flat DR of 20% of speed, and then an extra Flat DR of 20% of speed versus specials. Okay, so where does that put us? And here's the problem I had, is that I really can't update this kit. It's just wild, but he really does function better with this exact kit. It's just what you want to do. I couldn't even replace Sly Swift Sparrow. Like that, he didn't want that. He didn't want Haze Slice. He wants Gusts, and he wants Attack Speed Excel. There will come along something that does better than both of those, but for the time being, that really is where he wants to be. The only hard thing I had on here, I have Attack Speed Finish 3. I have the Sims using Attack Speed Finish 3, but as you're going to see, and in fact, we're going to just flip right to it, the 7 range means that assumption is very, very tenuous. And so that would bring his true damage down to 15, which I don't even want to think about. We'll look at it in just a second, but as of now, 20 is already kind of low, and a boosted damage of 61 is respectable, but we talked about in boosted damage, you really wanted to be out past Thórr or at that level, especially if you have true damage that low. But the threat range of 7 is just bumps him through the roof. The ability to move and get another action is incredible, and will keep this unit. This unit had a high ceiling at first, and that ceiling has slowly dropped, but this unit will always have a high floor because of not only the Gale Force, but the ability to take an action and then another action. The just for free getting 3 actions a turn is incredible, and the play he inspires is very creative, to be frank. Let's look at the Sims, and they aren't great. I will say he does take out Marnie, which is nice. Corin is kind of the threshold. He does survive these other units, and the problem I was having when you removed Gust and when you removed Attack Speed Excel is that he wasn't winning any more matches, and he was losing the Hector and Rhea matchups. That's why we ended up where we're at. And I thought it was better that this unit survives, to be frank. Especially if you think about the way this unit wants to work, which is if this unit goes into a defense or an offense or anywhere else, hits Rhea or Hector once, and then gets to move off of them and try to pick off some other unit, that can be very, very valuable. So because of the way this unit works, we don't get a kit update yet. But be on the lookout. Nerþuz destroys this unit, which is no surprise. Nerþuz is built to take out units like Felix, and she does. So, Felix lovers, I don't think the arrow is going down on your unit. I think you have stabilized. You are just waiting for infantry units to get some additional skills, and that hasn't happened yet. When they do, I think you're going to be able to update this unit, and I think he's going to be a lot of fun again.
You must understand.
Sigurd, in contrast, has been in every tier except for S. He never made it to S tier. But at one point or another, I've had him in every tier but the top one and the bottom one. I have been back and forth on this unit so much. And the problem is this unit is still very good, but they have released specific counters to this unit. And that makes it so that he needs extra support. And that's a hard place to be in. Still, I even look at this, like the Holy War Spear and Override, they're actually kind of small. Like Holy War Spear, you get Canto 3 Slang. At the start of turn, you get Gallop, which is movement +2. If you initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get an Omni +14. You get true damage of 20% of units' defense, and that includes your AoEs. You get piercing of 50%, and you get healing of 7 HP. It's not bad, especially the fact that the true damage gets added on to the AoE. For Override, you get the massive range of Growing Flame, only with Override, with full damage at 1.5. And this is probably the biggest thing. When special hits 2+ foes, you get another action. And then if unit or foe special is ready or triggered, you get a damage reduction of 40% on foe's next attack. So this unit is really made to survive. The biggest thing is that range. Like, let's look at the kit here. So at the moment, it's debatable whether you want solid ground on both the A and the S. I did better with this, but specifically if you want to double down on AoEs, then it is definitely better to do solid ground and on the A and the S. What we're really waiting for is the whatever the solid ground will be. That's the Verge of Death version that takes penalties out too. That is penalty negation would be very, very strong on this. It really is strong on any AoE unit. So that is definitely what we're waiting for. Momentum is still just the best B skill, although Momentum is starting to show its age, which is crazy because it doesn't feel like it's that old. But for a while there, it was the go-to skill, and it is not that anymore. Let's look at the stats, though, and true damage of 35 is actually pretty nice when you think about most of that being added on to the AoE. Okay, so boost damage. And I had trouble with this because really you should add AoEs to the boosted damage, but they happen at a different point and they have a different counter. So this unit also almost needs a fourth column that I just wasn't going to add for one unit, because then you don't have a good comparison for that. But this doesn't tell the whole story, and we're going to see a little bit of that in just a second. But the threat range of 6 is just incredible, especially when you think about getting Gale Force off of that hit. But let's look at the Sims here, and they're bad. They're so bad. This is one of those things, and yes, I know these are terrible, and with these, this unit should be lower, but the use case for this unit is so strong, and you see him everywhere because you have units like Larother that take out saves altogether, and so this unit can't kill any of these anymore, and that's unfortunate. But if you have this unit in conjunction with Larother, and Larother takes out the save by spreading save everywhere, and this unit comes in and rallies and then suddenly has 6 range that it can go and just demolish anything that you left uncovered on the map. The range is what makes puts this unit over the top. You can't stop that. You can't block that unless you have Bulwark, which we do see more of Bulwark, but so often there are ways around that. This isn't like warping where you can just have a skill that just stops it that is everywhere right now. Sigurd is special in his threat range, and because of that is why he ranks this high with having sims that bad, because summoners, that's bad. So you can see why I am so conflicted with this unit. This unit is one that transcends sims because of the use case, and that means he kind of stands apart from where this whole thing sits. We talked about outliers in every scheme, and the whole thing where true damage reigns supreme does hold for this unit, but the ability to just cover so much of the map makes him stronger than he would look on initial impression. Okay, so the Apology Tour is done, which is great because that was a hard list. Those are the units that, since they are role players, you get very die-hard fans, and for good reason. If a player has a single unit that they have a great use for, I've heard Odor fans, I have heard definitely Felix fans, Caeda fans, for their specific use, the unit has been bonkers, and for them, ranks higher. But I think if you look at them on a grand scheme and how much they do versus other units, I think C tier is apt. But that is to say, if your favorite is in C tier, you can absolutely get a lot out of those units, and role players are good because they have specific things that they can destroy, and sometimes those specific things are exactly what you need to get out of the way. And now we hit B tier. These are the flex fighters, is what I'm calling them. They have minimal support and they are team building blocks. They aren't necessarily elite, although some of them have very good damage, but they offer a lot of other things, usually special extra actions or extra support. They excel in several different ways, which makes them pieces to a team that are incredibly valuable. As an example, again, we're going to pick on BK with Sharena, my favorite unit. So, Sharena's going to come in and in 2 hits with support from just Eikþyrnir, blast him. That is phenomenal. That is a single support, and this unit has so many actions that she can add to a team. That is worth noting. That is the kind of unit you're going to get in this tier.
No hand shall I grasp.
Bridal Embla is one of these units that it just continually flies under the radar. We always talk about how problematic Larother is, and Embla, for an offense, does effectively a lot of the same things. Undefended and Feud is incredibly valuable to have on a unit. This unit also has all of the things that beasts have, and extra bulk and all of this other stuff that makes them very, very powerful. They've also gotten a lot of extra skills. Let's talk about what this unit comes with first, though. Closing florets. You get Slang, you get Canto, you get Start of Turn, Preempt Pulse, cooldown -2 or 1 to self and support partner, highest speed ally in 2 spaces. So, that was a mess, right? There was a defense that I used to love to copy that would make all the units the same speed, and that would give extra cooldown to those units, and it was just an AoE nightmare back when AoEs were a big thing. But it's still very good now to have prepared specials. You get Beast Transform, which is nice for flyers, but not quite as good as for cavs. And then at start of combat, you get an Omni plus 14, true damage equal to 20% of speed, which is nice, and then flat DR of 20% of speed. So we've got survivability and means to get specials off quickly, as well as Canto and Slang. Absolute closure. Start of turn inflicts undefended and feud on foes in 3 rows, 3 columns. If foe in 3 rows and 3 columns grants dodge to unit, null penalties, and if transformed, you get an Omni plus 4 and full no follow-up. So, it's a lot. Beasts always have a lot of stuff. The great thing about that, we're flipping to the build here, absolute closure is in the sea, and there aren't just a ton of things in the sea. Now, I know that beasts have preempt Screech, but I think for this specific unit, absolute closure is just the way to go because of what all this does, and the fact that it puts feud on other units at a distance for your allies as well. Beast Agility 4 is kind of my go-to for beasts. It's not the newest skill, but it does add true damage, which I love, and then the ability to get trample and have that desperation effect is incredibly good, along with Nimble Beast and of course attack speed clash 3. So we've got the usual team there surrounding what does this mean for the stats. We have a true damage of 26 and a boost damage of 50, and then a threat range of 4. So these are not premier numbers, but she does have premier support. I want to go ahead and go to the Sims though, and we'll talk about those. So these are actually really, really good. Again, one of the biggest things is the survivability, and that is the nice thing with beasts. Every unit but Rhea here I would consider a good matchup. You have Corin, Marnie, and Nerþuz. She just demolishes. Hector, she comes close, and this is good enough that you can get chip damage on this unit and have another unit to come and finish him off. The one thing, and the reason this unit isn't higher is, of course, because Rhea is the premier near save, and this unit just doesn't touch her. The thing that's really helping you with Nerþuz is the way that Nimble Beast procs and how often you get it. Being able to get specials over and over is very good, and this unit is good at looping them. That is a way you can take down Nerþuz, and I mean, what can I say? I was very impressed with how this unit does. This unit continues to hold up, and they continue to give beasts nice things. As long as they do that, we'll be able to update them. We just need a better fodder factory for them, because Ayra and Dedue, Dedue is a good unit, but we need something that's not an armor. So Is, get on that. Embla is good. If you have her, you're happy, and you already know this.
A Johanna festival!
Marisa is also criminally underrated. This unit is a fantastic support. Being able to give out Brave at a distance frees you up for any other emblem ring you'd like. Just insert here. Whatever you require, it doesn't shoehorn you into one individual thing. And if you attack match, you can do a lot of crazy things and have more units that way. But the fact that she's a cav also gives her a lot of great inheritables. We talked about melee calves. They've gotten a lot recently in both support and in attack. One of my favorite builds has a detect on her, and she can cause mid-turn debuffs and exposure while giving out Brave. We're going to talk about another build for her, though, and that's how to absolutely smash things. But first, Laconic Axe. We have Slang, Canto 2, and then allies in 3 rows, 3 columns get an attack speed res defense +4 during combat. So then we get the Brave effect. And this is if allies within 3 rows and 3 columns and they don't have Savior, then that's that unit gets Brave, and this unit does as well if they are in that range. Now, this can be a support partner or unit with highest HP, so keep that in mind. Past that, if unit initiates combat or allies within 3 rows, 3 columns, you get an Omni +4, a true damage of 20% of unit speed. It's about the threshold. We normally love 25, but 20 will work. And then a damage reduction of 20% of speed. You see a common theme, like most of the units are getting about that level. You get Null Guard and healing after combat. The Harmonic skill, remember this doesn't have a preference, but the Harmonic skill gives +1 extra movement, resonant blades, you ignore terrain, and you give that out to any of your allies in the same game, and this can be used multiple times per map. So it's not a groundbreaking Harmonic skill, but we'll take it. Let's go to the build though, and I want to look more at this. So remember, the whole thing is we get Brave already in the weapon, so you can do things like give this unit extra movement through Sigurd. I know this unit already gets extra movement through the Harmonic skill. It's nice to have that up permanently. If you're in Aether raids, you're not likely to be able to use that. If you're in Summoner duels, however, that is something where you might want to look at a different emblem ring. Blue Skies, Potent Assault, Attack Speed, and Sight Hone. I told you all you were going to get tired of this, and if you're not already, there's more of it to come. It's a really good combo. If you're wondering why I'm choosing Attack Speed Clash 3 versus Attack Speed Prime, Attack Speed Prime is always better if the unit naturally gets the buffs, and you only need 2 for Attack Speed Prime in the seal. Then I'm going with Attack Speed Prime. If they don't, then I do Attack Speed Clash, just so you guys know. Now, let's look at what we have for the total stat-wise, and you have 20 true damage and 49 boosted damage, which is pretty good, and then a threat range of 5. But what does that mean for the Sims, and what does this unit take out? This entire tier is going to have a lot of trouble with Rhea, and they just don't quite get it done. She doesn't quite get Hector done either, but you're going to see a theme. This build is very good versus Neithogr. It's very good versus Marnie, and of course it's good versus Corrin. It's just a lot of damage in the right spots, as well as some DR. So these are very nice results. Normally I would bump this unit down, but the level of support is so good. The fact that she's a Cav means she has additional things like Detect and additional range she can move. I am a huge fan of this unit. I use her almost every season, and I would highly suggest you pick this unit up unless they come out with something else that gives out Brave, which I don't know, that they may do that. But what it does is it allows you to use your Eirika ring on somebody else, because that is a very high demand thing. Overall though, I mean, you can't complain about this. This is an excellent unit, excellent support, and these are good Gauntlet results. That's kind of what this tier is.
Muscle is power.
You'll notice that we have a fair amount of beasts, and really what that comes down to again is the skills that you're being able to get on these units. Eikþyrnir is a favorite for a lot of folks, and with good reason. This is an excellent unit still, adds both support and good cleanup power. We're going to talk about how to build him because he's a little different than the other units, but let's talk about what exactly he gives out. Quieting Antler has Sling, Canto 2, and at start of turn to unit and allies within 2 spaces, you get +6 attack and defense, bonus doubler, which is nice, and +3 to highest visible buff per stat. So again, you get the, I believe this is almost bonus doubler 4. At the start of combat, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally or initiates, inflicts attack defense -17, that's conditional, but that's very good. True damage equals highest total bonuses among unit and allies within 3 spaces. You get a flat DR of 50% of statuses, which is not bad. And then if transformed, you get the beast transformation wonderment that is very nice right now for Cavs. Divine Strength, you get start of both phases, you null penalties, and then you remove transformation condition, which is very good. You want, especially your Cavs, you want them transformed. As far as combat effects, inflicts attack defense -5 on foe, guaranteed follow-up, 7 HP healing, and if unit's attack is greater than foe's attack -5, inflicts attack defense -6, that's conditional. You'll be excused if that was just a mess of words, because a lot of these beast things are very hard to understand and very convoluted with a ton of different conditions. Let's talk about how to build this unit and what works. So we have the biggest thing here, which is Astra. And that is fascinating to me. I actually had this unit with Sturdy Beast and couldn't figure out what the hype is. And I talked to a friend who uses this unit all the time and told me Astra was the way to go. That is a special that works really well off of boosted damage. And if you can get that, then it boosts it even more. So we'll talk about why that worked in just a second, but Attack Defense Excel, I really wanted to keep that on there. I like Slice Sturdy, but I wanted to help this unit survive because that isn't a very important thing. And then Preempt Screech is a lot of fun and is another thing that can help, especially versus any unit supported by Rhea. This unit hits hard though. You can see Attack Defense Prime 3 on there because it is self-supported. Let's look at the stats and what exactly happened. We have a true damage of 10, which is not great, and a boosted damage of 87. That is in that Thórr range, but you don't have to have a unit attack into you. So you are very much in control of your own destiny. Range of 4 is okay. Keep in mind that boost damage of 87 though, as we look at the Sims. And I mean, what can I say here? Taking out Nithogr, which again is the theme of this tier. Hector is very good that he can do that. And Corin, which is okay. Marnie surprised me, and I just doesn't do well versus Marnie, which is crazy, but also you're not really going to be using this unit in Arena much, so it's not a big hit. I would have loved to see him do better versus Rhea, and he just doesn't. The nice thing about Sturdy Beast is it has additional DR that really helps you survive through stuff like Rhea, and this unit just can't do it with Astra. But I mean, look at the other stuff. Taking out Nithogr is not a small deal, and this unit does that easily. The reason he's not higher, again, is because Rhea is the most prolific near save we have right now, and for good reason. The giving out the miracle effect is just very, very valuable, and so if you can't do that, then you're kind of stuck here. But the other thing I want to discuss here is the support from this unit is criminally underrated. Bonus doubler and the other stuff that he hands out is it can really come in handy. You saw this was the only support that Sharena had, and just that was something that really pushed Sharena over the top and made her be able to take out Black Knight. That's not a small thing. For that's why this unit is in this tier. He excels in a lot of different ways. He has good simulation results. This is a fan favorite for a reason, and if you're using him now, you know how good he is.
Watch over me.
This is another one that just shocked me. I guess it shouldn't. Rearmed Lucina has Treachery that gives out true damage. I thought this would be more blocked by all of the daunts going around. The lull, attack, speed, res, all of that. I thought that would really dampen what she does, and it does to an extent, but she still gets a ton of true damage just because of Future Sight. Let's look a little bit at what all we're getting here. So I've got Eikþyrnir. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to use that. I have used it. It's okay if you need to, but really you want Arcane Giant Axe, and I've got that on the build coming up. It gives extra true damage and some preempt pulse goodness. That's really what you're going to want to use. Future Fight is what you want to be focusing on, and you get the whole self-refresh thing, unit swap, and then the buff of attack speed +6, Treachery, and some damage reduction that's pierceable. Treachery right now, I mean, I've been preaching it so much throughout this entire episode. True damage, true damage, true damage. Treachery gives out usually around 24 true damage, and that is that's a lot. That's on top of everything else you're getting, and that's on multiple hits that these units are also putting out. It's why you're seeing so many null bonuses out there, is because Treachery is so strong, and that hurts her a bit, but it's not around enough to drop her any lower than this. She still does very, very well. If you look at the build I've got, the big thing you want to pay attention to, it is not insignificant to use Arcane Giant Axe versus Eikþyrnir. Arcane Giant Axe is built for the current meta. Eikþyrnir is built for an older meta. We are not in that anymore, and you're going to need something up to date if you want to compete. So Arcane Giant Axe is absolutely the way to go. Let's look at what this unit ends up getting though. 46 true damage is very, very nice. You are getting up into that higher range, and 47 boost damage is also very, very good with a threat range of 5. I have included in the swap there. Future Sight is such a big thing of how she works that you're almost always going to be able to swap up and forward. It's what made Legendary Lucina such a terror for so long, is the ability to move forward down the line is to reposition, which moves everyone back. So let's look at the results. Again, you're seeing very similar things because you have very similar kits. Nidhogr, Marnie, and Corin all go down. Hector survives because of Shield Pulse, but you're still not able to take out Rhea. Still, like this is an older arcane unit. Arcane units, you hear it time and time again, that the problem is they don't truly get preference weapons. But this unit, this is just exactly what she needs, and Future Sight is... So she's getting true damage out of a positional. That's incredible. That's one more source of true damage, and she's already getting it out of Arcane Giant Axe and Blue Skies and Potent Assault, and that's just one more way that this unit can boost herself up and her teammates. That makes for excellent support, and it's why I have her so high here. I like this unit a lot.
Feel the bite of Bolverk!
There was a time where this unit made #1 on the top 5 worst list. And his refine came, and mostly I ignored it because I just didn't see a way that it worked. I tried a whole bunch of things and nothing really hit. And then all of these different things came out and came together perfectly to make Xander a killing machine, which is wild to me. I'm still coping with that change there. I'm getting whiplash from him suddenly being good, and I don't know what to do with that. Let's talk about why. So we have Eben Bolverk, we have Slaying, and at the start of turn, to units and allies within 2, you get attack speed +6, null follow-up, and special acceleration. Then we have, if you have 2 or more allies within 2 spaces, unit can move 1 extra space, which is very good. Start of combat, if HP is greater than 25%, you get a bonus 2 attack speed, defense, res, +11, which is okay. You'd want 14, but that's not bad. Neutralizes units' penalties to attack speed, very good. Flat DR of 7, not bad. And 50% piercing. Then we get in combat effects, if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get attack speed, defense, res, +5. You get true damage equals bonuses times 5, a max of 25. Most of the time you're going to be at that 25, which 25 out of the weapon is very good. And then a post-combat heal of 7 HP. That's pretty nice. So already, this has all of the right things in the current meta. We then move to Chivalry 2, and we have Canto. You have damage reduction of 50%, which is pierceable. And then if foe's HP is greater than 50%, you get attack speed, defense -5 on foe. True damage equals 25% of attack. Damage reduction of 25% of attack, that's flat DR. Preempt pulse equals cooldown -3 if initiator moved at least 3 spaces. And if foe's HP is less than 50%, you get a true damage of 15% of attack. And DR equals 15% of attack, and preempt pulse equals cooldown of Y equals spaces moved by initiator. So that was a lot of words. Here's the thing, and I'm going to go to the build. This is kind of sad because actually Chivalry 2 was pretty good. It's not as good as Potent Assault. There's a little bit of overlap, but you get more DR piercing and you get to hit more times. And again, the name of the game is getting true damage and hitting as many times as you possibly can. I didn't believe that this unit was as good as the Sims were. We talked about it at the beginning, 2.5 hours ago. This works. I've built it. This actually destroys things, and I am flabbergasted. This is really good. Are you ready? We're gonna move on. So we get a true damage of 44, which is very good. And then we get boosted damage of 51, which is workable. That is honestly good enough. So where does that land us? We've already got the nice range of 5. These are good numbers, but we've seen good numbers that sometimes hit and sometimes don't. These hit hard. There are the combination of everything, the boost damage, the true damage, the debuffs, everything in here. This unit just smacks things, but can you believe that? Like this, like Rhea, Neithogr, Marnie, Corrin, all of them go down. The only thing he can't get through is Shield Fighter and Pavis, and that's, I mean, I'll take that. Like this, that is incredible. This, I hate to say this is a premier nuke. The only reason he isn't higher, like his support isn't fantastic, and there's nothing really special about his movement. So he just excels at killing things, though. Which, did you ever think I was gonna say that about Legendary Xander? You kind of have to ditch his whole hit and sit thing, and luckily, since it's all in Chivalry 2, you can. You don't have to do that stupid hit and sit thing where they always waste stats. Just throw Potent Assault on there and good things happen. To Xander, you'll have to excuse me, I'm a little surprised at this. I cannot tell you how many times I have rerun this, and finally I just had to build him, because if I told you guys that this worked and it didn't, I could not live with myself. That was not going to happen. This is a great unit, and I don't know what to do with that. It's possible I'm too low on him. Take that in. But I do think that with the combination of support and mobility, there are other units that I like better. But if you have Legendary Xander, go build this. Like, you will be happy again. Your life will have joy. You won't be made fun of anymore. You'll just absolutely smack things, and yeah, good times. That's all I can say.
Your strength is my strength.
Seliph came out, and I think everyone expected him to just blow the doors off, and instead he was one of the most incredible fodder units that Cavs ever got, which is difficult to wrap your head around, right? I think, well, for me, I still have Brave Seliph in my head and just how he absolutely changed the game. And this is an upgraded version of that with really the correct weapon, because Neithogr is so prevalent, and he does okay. And I guess by okay, I mean he doesn't live up to the original Seliph, but it's still very solid. Let's look at what all this unit does. We have Legacy Axe, we have Slaying, and then to allies within 3x3, you get attack speed +5 and null penalties. Then you have, if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get an Omni +14, you get true damage equals +25, which is very nice. You get Preempt Pulse equals 1/2 the distance you moved, which is also very good, especially with Haze Slice. That means you're going to be hitting with that pretty often. And then you get Miracle, which is very, very good and helps survivability a ton. From there, you get Pure Storm, and start of turn and after unit acts on closest foes and foes within 2, you get an attack defense -7, sabotage, and exposure. I cannot tell you how good that support is. It is on Edelgard, and it is fantastic. Just that alone, giving out mid-turn exposure and the debuffs is something that is absolutely phenomenal about this unit. Past that, you do get Disable Foes Specials, which is nice, but it's weirdly conditional. It doesn't apply to the first attack, so the unit has to have entered combat. Anyway, attack defense -5, true damage in the C skill of 20% of defense, which is very nice. You get 50% piercing and Gale Force conditionally. This unit has a ton of things. How to build this unit? I mean, he already has everything he needs. This is like base kit, basically. I mean, the only thing different you're adding in there is Blue Skies, and Blue Skies does make a difference. So that is something, if you are a fan, that you're going to want to be aiming for this unit. If we look at the stat layout, you have a true damage of 40, a boosted damage of 48, which is okay, and then a threat range of 5. All of this is stacking up really nicely, and I mean, you have survivability, you have damage, you have a unit that has a lot of range too. So where do the Sims come out? For this, we have to estimate, and I am less confident in this unit than any of the others because of the mess of things that you have going on there. The big thing, I don't think this unit beats Rhea. There's not quite enough there. Although, this unit is going to hit very hard, and I think it's going to be closer. You're probably going to drop her all the way down to 1 and then have her bounce back to 18 because that's what she does. And of course, she's not going to kill back because this unit has Miracle. The big question there is Hector, and I think I'm fairly confident that she beats Nidhogr, Marnie, and Corrin. The problem is the way the skill is written there. It's going to be a thing where Hector has to have entered combat, and I'm doing these as a primary initiator. Because of that, he doesn't stop Hector in that way. If he attacks Hector twice, for instance, he hits and then Gale Forces and then hits again, I think he does take out Hector. So there is that. I did not take into account second hits in that way, though. There are a lot of units that could have benefited from that. The way I've done this, though, he doesn't take out Hector. So, that's a long way of saying this unit is very good. The reason this unit is not higher is I don't think the way he is laid out is perfectly synergistic with the way the meta is working right now. That being said, I do think he could do a lot of damage, and I think you could do a lot of the fun things that you had with Seliph. But right now, I'd rather just have someone who absolutely demolishes things, and he comes pretty close to that. But I don't think he defeats Rhea, and so that is why he's in this tier. I will say his support is sneaky good. The fact that he can do mid-turn debuffs on the enemy is not to be shrugged off. That is excellent. And he's also giving out null penalties, which is nice. But overall, there's a possibility that this unit would have snuck into the next tier if I would have had him in the Sims. Keep that in mind. Again, I'm not 100% confident in this, and as we get more information on this unit, we may change our minds on where he sits.
Our hearts are open.
Now it is time for Sharena, and I am so happy she got all of those buffs from all of the Cav skills. It is just so nice to see. There was a little bit where I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to use her again. Keep in mind, this unit is over a year old now, and I have her this high, and I have all the stuff to back it up. We'll show you here in just a second, but I am really happy with where this unit is going. This is one of my absolute favorites. So let's look at what all this unit has. So we have United Request. This has Slaying. If HP is greater than 25%, you get attack speed +6. You get +1 movement. It's nice, actually very nice. And then at the start of combat, you get to all stats a Omni +14. You get null follow-up. You get true damage equal to 20% of speed. You get healing, and most of the time that's going to be at 12. Forever Yours, you get Canto, and at start of turn, you get an Omni +4, damage reduction equals 40%, and Null Guard. Then you get, if a unit acts within 3 spaces of this unit after this unit is acted, you get a refreshed unit with refreshed Canto. So, right off the bat, we have some very good things, and we get a lot of actions, which we love. Let's talk about what builds you want on this, and surprise, it's Blue Skies 4 and Potent Assault. This unit has a lot of true damage, and you're going to hit as many times as possible. I keep saying that, but that is a big deal with this unit. This unit has enough to sustain attack speed prime 3, and I think that is a way to go there. But this build should come as no surprise. Let's talk about where this lands her, though. And this gives her 38 true damage and a surprising 73 boosted damage. That's a lot. So we have serviceable true damage and very nice boosted damage and a threat range of 5. All greens across the board. We would have liked true damage to be a little bit higher, but I don't think you can complain about this, and I especially don't think you can complain about the results, which are fascinating to me. So, for Rhea, we get a win. Nidhogr, a win. Hector's hard, but she survives that and does drop him all the way down. Marnie just obliterates her. And I don't know. This is one of those things. Like, I think you'll take that all day, every day. This is great. But it is wild to me that she just really does so well against everyone but Marnie. This is the problem with boosted damage that is so affected by the weapon triangle. It's one of the reasons for so long we said the weapon triangle has stopped meaning things. With true damage, it doesn't mean as much, just flat out. But with boosted damage, it absolutely means something. And her, with all of her attack mainly coming out of that boosted damage, it really drops down how much she does to Marnie. And I have seen it personally. I have tested this out. Marnie is a force that just absolutely loves to obliterate Sharena. It makes me sad. But as long as she's attacking these other units and winning, I'm probably going to be just fine with this. This unit is one of my favorites. She is going to remain that way thanks to these amazing skills, and it's tough to complain about this. This is very good. Her support comes mainly from the fact that she gets so many actions. It means that she can do a lot of things to help out her team. I will say in Arena, she is absolutely waiting for the Cav positional skill that I don't know when is going to hit, but I hope soon. And I think that is going to increase her value a lot. What can I say? 3 actions in Arena is excellent. 3 actions in Aether Raids is excellent. I wouldn't go out of my way to put this unit in a Summoner Duels, but I mean, if this unit is good in every mode but that, I will take that all day, every day. So there we go. This is our B tier, and all of these units truly excel in one area and usually are serviceable in the others, including Legendary Xander, which is still just blowing my mind. This is a very good tier though. I have several units in this tier that I use, and they are incredibly valuable on teams. That's really what you're looking for. These are building blocks. Let's get into the heavy hitters though in A tier. So here we are at A tier, and these are the core carriers with high killing power and very high synergy. These units excel in multiple different ways and are just phenomenal at it. I've got an example here with Black Knight and of course Ayra, and this is Ayra with basically one support. The only reason I have Peony up there is to dance, and Ayra comes in. Keep in mind she's not getting Desperation because you do have Hardy Bearing up there, and just absolutely smashes BK and doesn't think much about it. That is the kind of support we are looking at right here. These units are phenomenal, and we're going to talk a lot about them coming up.
This should do it.
I am literally going to get hate mail for this Chrom placement. And for you Chrom fans, this is a really good placement. A tier is fantastic. You just saw all of those other units. This is really good. There are just units that do it better right now. The thing about Chrom, and the reason there are so many people who love him, is because of how funny he is to use. He scales so well with the team that you have put around him. And that makes him, timeless is probably the wrong word, because there will come a time where he wears out his welcome, but it makes him very good, and it gives him a lot of staying power. Let's look at exactly what we got from his refine, because it's not a lot. If we look at Geardriful, we have Slang, effective against armors, and if assist is used by or targets unit, you get 50% DR Pierce, Dull All, and that's already very good. Then we get Start of Combat and Omni plus statuses times 2. And this is what everyone really, really loves. I should also say true damage equals the bonuses times 4, max of 16. If both of those were uncapped, this unit would be ridiculous. As of now, though, that is a lot of extra stats that make this unit extra bulky depending on the team you have around him. And 16 true damage is not bad either. Past that, we know what a Fate Change does. You get Reposition, and that's a self-refreshed reposition, and then you copy all the allies' bonuses to unit and pair up cohort and inflicts isolation. So This is a very simple kit that is very effective. And we just talked about all of the great stuff that Cavs just got. And we're gonna deck him out in that same thing, but we're gonna add in Fatal Smoke 4 here because this unit has enough oomph to be able to get that done. Now we've already seen that that's a lot of bonuses that are getting stacked on to this unit, but what does that mean for the stats? And 60 true damage is very, very nice. And you get boosted damage, plus you get a lot of extra bulk out of all of those extra stats. And I have included a range of 7 because of, again, that repositional that you can move 3 spaces, reposition, and then you can move again and attack a space. That's very good. Let's look at the Sims here, and they play that out. Now, you Chrom fans, I know all of you. So, understand, yes, there are ways that you could make this unit better, and there are ways that you can make him to take out Rhea, but it is important that you level the playing field for everyone, okay? This is still very good. I know how you think. Practically, I think this is likely what you're going to see a lot of the time, and this makes this unit incredibly good and worthy of A tier, where there are absolute powerhouses. The benefits of this unit really rely in the positional and being able to refresh himself, and that is invaluable in any mode. Put him in arena, summoner duels, aether raids, all of those appreciate that. And even though he doesn't have specific ways that he supports the team, I think just those make him very, very powerful. I think this is an excellent build. I think he has benefited a ton from that, and these are good results.
Behold my gratitude!
My boy Dimitri here is standing tall, and this unit is absolutely slept on and has a ton included in this kit. Let's look at what exactly we have here. Lion's Heart, which I had trouble fitting on here, has Slaying, a lot of Canto, Gale Force plus Canto Refresh, which is really nice. That is after combat, by the way. At start of turn, if you're in 2 spaces of an ally, you get +1 movement, null penalties, and cooldown acceleration. This is very good. Then if unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get an Omni +12, true damage of 25, that's conditional, flat DR of 15, which is also conditional, and extra flat DR of 15 versus specials, preempt pulse, and 7 HP healing post-combat. The biggest thing is you're getting a lot of flat DR and a lot of true damage out of this, and that's already an excellent start. For Pure Atrocity, if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get speed defense -5 on foe, you get true damage of 25% of attack, preempt pulse, no follow-up, and 50% of piercing. We're already getting a lot of true damage out of this unit. After combat, if unit attacked, you remove 2 bonus effects from target, and that splashes. You also apply Divine Vein Haze to unit, and 2 spaces that splashes over as well. So, that's a lot, and this unit was slept on because the Valentine's banner had Rhea and Edelgard, and they are phenomenal. So you're probably wondering what I did to this unit, and the answer is not much. I actually kept this unit pretty much the same, but added in attack speed inside Hone. I like the survivability with attack speed Excel, and I think this unit, because of the way this unit splashes things around, is more important for this unit to survive than really anything else. That can really benefit the team, and he has a lot of support in that way. But let's look at what this ends up with, because 51 true damage and 76 boosted damage in a range of 5 is huge. This unit moves and can smash things in a multitude of different ways, as well as getting another action. The question is always, what does this mean for his matchups? He doesn't defeat Rhea, which is just astounding to me, and that unit just keeps on being a thorn in every melee nuke's side, but everyone else he convincingly destroys. What I've got this unit set up as here is an offensive nuke. where he really belongs is on defense. You're not going to see Rhea there, and you are definitely going to see these other units, and he takes care of them very handily. So no, that is less of a knock on this unit than it would be on the others, and one of the reasons why he ranks so high. But one of the others is, again, the amount of support that he's providing. There is quite a bit. This unit has enough true damage that I didn't have to make a sacrifice and do either Blue Skies or Sly Swiss Sparrow. I got to have something that made him more survivable and smack things around. But there is always that upgrade down the line, so keep that in mind. This Dimitri is very good, and one of the main reasons is they didn't try to make him multiple things. He's just about destroying things, and it's about time. These are very good results, and definitely on par with Chrom, with some extra things in the realm of support.
I wish you the best.
This is another one that shocked me, and Years Hræsvelgr I really thought was going to rank in S tier, and in fact I had her there and saved her sims until the very last, and then was just blown away by how wrong I actually was. Let's talk about it here. So, Quieting Claw, we have Slaying, and closest foe and foes within 2 spaces, you get speed defense -7, exposure, and sabotage. And in combat, you get an Omni +5 and attack speed defense -10. Then you get true damage equals the statuses ×3, which is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Then you get a flat DR equals 7 and preempt pulse. And then you get, of course, the beast transformation, which is nice. Divine Talon comes up, and at start of turn, unit and allies in 2 spaces have Sapphy Cleanses of penalties, which is nice. A 1 HP friendly fire damage, which is weird. In this day and age, I'm just not sure what that does anymore, but we're here. We get start of turn to dragons, beasts, infantry, and armored allies. You get +1 movement, which is actually really nice support. And then in combat, if transformed, you get an Omni +5, null follow-up, null guard, and you get the Excel DR, which has extra DR versus specials, which is conditional versus how much you move. So what you should be asking is, why is this unit further down the line than Mythic Hræsvelgr? And just right off the bat, Sabotage versus Null Miracle is a big deal. Right now, because of Rhea, Null Miracle is incredibly powerful, and this unit not having it is not great. I mean, still great. This is A tier, right? This isn't a bad unit by any stretch of the imagination, but it keeps her from reaching the heights of Mythic Hræsvelgr. If we look at the build here, Trample and Beast Agility 4, we've seen this before with Nimble Beast. It adds on some extra damage reduction that isn't pierceable. You get free Desperation, and Beast Agility 4, of course, comes with some extra true damage. But what does this mean for the stats? That's always the question, right? And we move in, and 83 true damage is just ridiculous. That's so high. What do you even do with that? Boosted damage of 67, which is also high, and the only reason she really kind of hurts is for that threat range of 4. I think she can be forgiven of that. This unit is designed to kill things, and I was a little surprised. So we moved down, and this is kind of in the same boat as Dimitri. She almost takes out Rhea, but that 1 more HP, she just can't get it over the hump there, which is nuts to me. But again, Null Miracle is a big deal. She easily handles these other units, and she's so close to Rhea, and if we tweaked things, she probably would get there, but I'm not really in the business of tweaking in order to have Sims come out the way I want them to. The big thing is, this unit is incredibly good and absolutely destroys things, but comes up just short of moving up a tier. And that's not a bad deal. If you've got Years Hræsvelgr, then you're probably laughing at me and destroying things because it's just what she does. But it is rare for them to put out a seasonal version that is actually weaker than the original. I was a little surprised by that. I was also surprised that she didn't get her own preference C skill, but all in all, I mean, this is still a very good unit. And If you hear a little less excitement in my voice, it's more the expectations were sky high, and instead of the impossible, she gave me the improbable. So this unit is very good.
Blue skies ahead.
We've got a lot to talk about with Eirika, and I have wondered where to put her for a lot of different reasons. This is a very unique unit in that she is a melee unit that attacks like a ranged unit, and that has some implications that completely changes how you build either your defenses in Aether Raids, the way you defend in Summoner Duels, or also the way you defend in Aether Raids offense. She kind of turns things on her head. And that's before we even mention the Emblem Ring, which we aren't going to consider here, but obviously is on every unit out there right now that wants to be a nuke or wants to kill things, because we've seen it a ton on near saves as well. Let's talk about what this unit does. And yes, you can make fun of me for writing the description as lots of text for style, but I got tired of writing. There's so much. I couldn't fit it on the screen. Let's talk about this though. Azure Twin Edge has Slaying. At start of turn to unit and allies in 2 spaces, you have Empathy and special cooldown +1. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get an Omni +14. That's conditional. True damage equals 20% of speed. Flat DR on first attack equals 20% of speed and no follow-up. Then you get Windsword style. So you get attack from 2 spaces. Calculates damage, that's adaptive damage. Unit suffers counter attack if, and there's a whole thing there, and you guys have been through it. I don't need to read that because we're really worried more about how this unit actually destroys things. But I mean, the biggest thing there is that attack from 2 spaces. That's incredible. Twin Strike itself boosts damage by 60% of speed, has a dual phase Brave, Null Guard, and 40% DR. And that looks really small, but that's really good for a special. Getting Brave out of a special is just fantastic, and 60% of speed out of boosted damage is very good as well. How we built this unit does actually like an upgrade, strangely enough, and Potent Assault and Fatal Smoke 4 are excellent on her. As far as the emblem, I prefer Sigurd just because I like the extra movement and makes her range very, very good, but understand there's a lot of different ways you can go there. And I mean, we may get a new ring, and this unit is malleable enough that she can handle that as well. The one thing I will say, I do think Potent Assault is better than Assault Force, and if you are a fan of this unit, that and Fatal Smoke 4 are worthy upgrades. Just looking at the way the Sims pan out, they're very good on this unit. Let's look at how this unit ranks, and the weird thing is I didn't realize how much boosted damage this unit would get, and a lot of that again is from the absolute monster speed boost that she's getting, which is crazy. The true damage at 38 is very, very usable, and we've talked about that. You need to blow 1 out of the water, and she definitely does with boosted damage here. But how does this come out in The Sims, which is always the question, and honestly, she comes out okay. So, Corin, we talked about this. When you're reliant on boosted damage, Weapon Triangle means a lot more, and that is why the mysteries of Corin come out ahead when it comes to Eirika, which is just wild to me. I have built out this unit such that she survives Rhea and on the second hit takes her out, but again, we wanted to level the playing field, and when you compare her with other units and the same support, she does miss that kill, but Neithogr, Hector, Marnie, all of those she just smashes with style. This unit does excellent, and the thing that I want to point out is that she's not doing as well in combat as other units, and she doesn't have fantastic support, but because of the unique way she attacks, you just absolutely have to recognize that as an A tier unit. She's not enough to get into S tier, and I've had her miss kills quite a bit. So I have seen that play out in the real world. Like, this unit does miss kills. but there are so many different ways that I can attack the enemy that they haven't planned for because of the way she attacks, that I think this unit belongs this high. And also, anyone who uses her would probably agree with me. Also, anyone who has had to go against her on defense would probably agree with me as well. This unit is pretty phenomenal, and she is very, very fun to use.
You will pay for this.
Ayra was one of my biggest struggles in this whole batch, and the big reason is I haven't seen her live up to her potential in the real world. I'm very worried that she is a sim queen. I have talked to a lot of people about her, and they disagree with me and have had great amounts of success. I personally, though, struggle a bit with how exactly to use her, and sometimes she does miss kills where at this level, for the kind of unit she is, I would prefer that not to happen. She is very much designed to counter shield fighter, though, and because that is something that is not in the meta right now, she's lost a little bit of value. Normally, she would have been an S tier with the kind of kit this was if you would have rewound like a year ago. And Nerþuz came along and just changed everything. And because of that, again, she struggles just a little bit. But let's talk about what all we have here. So Sword of Isaac, these are both very simple. Now, we have Slaying, and 2 unit allies in 2 spaces. You get attack speed +6, dull all, and potent follow-up. These are good in every mode. Every single mode, you want dull all and potent follow-up. Again, what we talked about, particularly for the units that rely on true damage, I should caveat that. For units that rely on boosted damage, that is less of a thing, but it's still nice to hit that many times. So, dull all, potent follow-up, excellent. You get an Omni +14, you get the potent follow booster of 100% for every hit. You get 25 true damage, 15 flat DR, an extra 15 flat DR versus specials, and 7 HP post-combat healing. Crusader's Ward, you get boost damage of 40% of speed, you get 100% DR piercing, preempt pulse, follow-up preempt pulse, and disable foes' defensive specials on units follow-up, and then 40% unpierceable DR. This is small, compact, but this is all very good. This has an excellent supportive nature to it and does a lot of damage, which is what you want to do. Let's talk about the unit and how to build her. I went back and forth on this. I almost put potent finish on her, but because she gets potent in the weapon, I just couldn't quite do that. There is an argument to be made for that because of the extra flat DR, and a lot of times what this unit has trouble with is survival. That's a big deal. So anyway, reposition gate, Crusaders Astra, you get of course Eirika ring, Speed Taker 4, Fatal Smoke 4, which is very important for what you're about to see here in just a second, and attack speed finish 3. So what does that mean for our stats? And we've got 45 true damage, which is very good. You've got boosted damage of 45 and threat range of 4. The boosted damage is okay, and keep in mind that true damage is nice because you're going to be hitting so many times at 100%. This is very good. Everything is lining up perfectly. Let's take a look, and this is the gauntlet, and she still doesn't take out Nerþuz, and all the others she does just fine. Here's the caveat, and here's where I think you're going to have issues. The problem with this unit is she really needs desperation. And I've done most of these units with desperation. With desperation, she is phenomenal, but almost more than any unit on here because she is such a pure nuke. She absolutely needs to get that from somewhere. And the issue when I'm looking at this in Aether raids, she can get that from Firestorm or from your Lin user or from someone else. Where this unit is used in Arena, it is harder to get that, much harder. And so because of that, you get a lot of these matchups that she wins, she doesn't win in Arena, where you're going to want to use her most. Rhea with Eirika Ring is going to absolutely demolish her. Marnie is not, and she still takes out Corin, but that's a big deal when you can't take out Rhea in Arena. Rhea is just rampant and is very hard to deal with. So you want your brand new legendary to be able to do that, and she misses by a bit unless she has desperation. So if you can get desperation on this unit, you're going to be very happy. The other thing is Fatal Smoke 4 does affect her range a bit, but again, she needs it to take out Rhea. All of this combined in the metrics that we're using here in an Aether Raids situation, she's excellent and is going to do a lot of good for you. If you are expanding past that into Arena, you're going to need some additional help. The reason she's this high is if you do give her that help, these results are pretty spectacular. Incidentally, this is also a reason why I was looking at Potent Finish. The extra survivability there really does help her when she doesn't have desperation. So anyway, if you hear the slight pull and tug in my voice, understand that is the difference between reports and sims that all say she does great and the specific case that I want to use her in, which is in Arena versus units like Nidhogr, and the fact that she falls a bit short of that. This is still an excellent unit, and this plays that out as well as many other people's experiences with this unit. This unit is very good.
You left me no choice.
Bridal Larcei is interesting to me because when I see a seasonal update, I really do expect the unit to be an evolution past what the unit that they're based on is. And this is absolutely based on Ayra that we just saw. This is Legendary Ayra. I thought this was an upgrade, and really, this is a side grade. So that was interesting to me, and I on first glance, I thought this was a slight upgrade, and that is really not the case. Let's look at Brilliant Brident, which is one of the best named preference weapons in the game right now. We have Slaying. At start of turn, inflicts speed, defense -7, exposure, and discord on closest foes and those foes within 2 spaces. And then at the start of combat, you get Omni +14, true damage of 10, and damage reduction of 20% of speed. And then on specials, you get additional 20% of speed. And then Crusader's Ward is exactly the same as the other. Boost damage equals 40% of speed. You get 100% DR Pierce on special proc, Preempt Pulse, follow-up Preempt Pulse, and then disable foes' defensive specials on units follow-up, and then 40% unpierceable DR. Okay, so the differences here are mainly in the way that this unit supports. Personally, I'd rather have the Dull All and Potent support, but also, exposure and discord are pretty good. That's especially exposure in particular. The problem with the way this unit does it is it's at the beginning of turn can be cleansed. That is an issue with the way this unit works. But I will say I'm seeing less of Freyr, and because of that, it makes these exposure and discord effects better. I still see a lot of him though, and he completely negates that altogether. As far as the build, it's pretty much her base kit there, except for Sly Swift Sparrow in the A skill. I do have Endless Tempest. Keep in mind she doesn't get the Dull All effect that her mother does. So I do think that is much better than the Brutal Tempest, which is nice because it has Canto, and you do get rid of that. For her though, I like the Endless Tempest better. As far as her stats go, if you look at her true damage and boosted damage versus her mom, she gets 3 more of each. And 3 more is not really going to push the envelope. So it's not something that I'm just overly excited about. Again, though, I do think she's going to be slightly better because of that, but I really would call this a side grade, and it depends on what you want. For me, I think Ayra still gets the better support. So here we are for estimated results. And the question you should be asking yourself, I've gone on and on about how I like Dull All and Potent better as support. So why do I have this unit over Ayra? Honestly, to me, I don't know that one really goes over the next. If I were to assign number of values to them, I think they would be about equal, and one gives you different support than the other. When I talk about liking the support from Ayra more, it's more of a personal preference. I don't know that it actually swings matchups. So it is something that plays into the units I have better if I'm looking at a global standpoint and is this better for someone who's just coming off the street? It just depends on what you want. The additional debuffs can be very valuable, and if we stop seeing Freyr, they are incredibly valuable because exposure is one of the best things in the game. Whereas Ayra giving out Dull All is, I mean, in Arena, that is fantastic, but also going up against anyone who has Treachery, that is absolutely fantastic. And we talked about how powerful that is. So, I'm saying that it's a personal preference thing, and these units are about equal. If you're just forcing me to give an answer, this unit does have a few more extra stats, and because of that, I put her ahead of Ayra in the list. But again, it's more of a personal preference thing.
The Day of Devotion.
This Edelgard is so much fun, and this is one of my favorite units to play with, and I wish they would give Dimitri better treatment. I did like the Valentines Dimitri, but this unit has a lot of creative play, and I appreciate that a ton. That being said, I cannot wait for her to come back because I need her fodder, and I am just completely going to feed her to my Hector, and there are definitely units that want Assault Rush and Sly Sturdy Blow. I digress though. Let's talk about what exactly this unit brings to the table. And this is not that long, but this is very, very focused. Eagle's Heart has Slang, Canto, Gale Force plus Canto Refresh, and then you have Attack Defense minus 17, which is very good. That is conditional. 25 True Damage, which is conditional as well. 15 Flat DR, extra 15 Flat DR versus Specials, Preempt Pulse, and 7 HP post-combat healing. Again, this isn't a lot of lines, but this is very, very nice and a good set of skills. Pure Storm has, at start of turn and after unit acts on closest foes and foes within 2 spaces, you get Attack Defense minus 7, Sabotage, and Exposure. I've already talked about it, but this is one of the supports I have for every one of these teams, and she is on almost every one of my Gale Force teams because adding in Exposure is incredible. Mid-turn Exposure and Sabotage, as well as Attack Defense minus 7, just absolutely changes the game and is so good. You add in, I mean, we talked about the safety fence, but the fact that I can apply that, have someone go in and knock out the first unit with Lynn or someone else, and then have this unit come in as cleanup is fantastic. But you're going to see she doesn't necessarily need that. A lot of times she can take care of things herself. But I wanted to point out the support and how good that is. And it's something that a lot of times debuffs we don't think of as support, but particularly mid-turn debuffs absolutely are. As for the build, I mean, it's the build. Like, this is basically base kit with Attack Defense Prime, and of course you have Eirika Ring. It's just the way you want to build her. I imagine there are going to be things that improve on this, but for now, this is excellent, and she does fantastic. Let's talk about what that means for her stats. Now, she has a true damage of 40 and a boosted damage of 48. The thing I'm not including in there is the exposure that she gives out. I always struggle with how exactly to count that, and for the most part, if it's an effect that I've thrown on the enemy, I haven't included that in her true damage or boosted damage stats. And threat range of 4. This is very serviceable though. This is very nice and things that we can work with. The big thing is when you actually get her out there, she really does this well. I will say I generally run her differently and run her with Marisa, and then have that Marisa has the the first turn I have her do detect so that exposure is already out there, and she absolutely does destroy most of these things. Rhea, it takes 2 hits generally, but you have 3 hits with her, and then you can run away because so few teams run Canto control. We don't really account for that in these, but this is another case where you could absolutely look at 3 different hits and still be able to make it out with whatever hit and run shenanigans you have. I have seen this unit run in Arena and to a lesser degree Summoner Duels and in Aether Raids on offense and defense, and she is value added everywhere. She is a fantastic unit. These are fantastic results. She has fantastic support. The only reason she's not in A tier is because her support isn't unique and she doesn't get the kill on Rhea. So she is tip top in every way, but is not necessarily elite in any way, except in the fact that she gets 3 actions and is so good in the others. That is why she is at the top of A tier, but hasn't quite broken into the next level. That brings A tier to a close, and these are all very good units, and I'm sure you have used or had some of these units used against you. All of these units are excellent in their own right and have unique things that make them very, very powerful. You remember, these are units that you build your core around and have strong synergy with their teammates. And I think you've seen how each of these proves that out. But it's time we get into the S tier units, and that's where we really shake things up. S tier, these are the meta-shattering units. They have game-changing support. They have elite stopping power. They have things that just absolutely changed the way we play the game. Every one of these units we were scared to death of when they came out, except for one, and we should have been scared of her. I want to showcase the amount of craziness, and yes, that is CJ's level 1 Hræsvelgr with minus attack and Fury 3, just to add insult to injury. And I want to show you this. This is my defense from a couple weeks ago. Yes, that blue one, that is the level 1 there that's getting bumped up, and then just, there we go. Boom. And of course, yeah, things just absolutely disintegrate now. This is the amount of absolutely nutty things that you have to look forward to in this tier. So sit back, enjoy, and pray that CJ never visits your defense with his level 1 Hræsvelgr.
Die, why don't you?
Why they chose Elm to be one of the most broken units that we have ever seen is beyond me. I'm not saying Elm doesn't have his fans, and I'm not saying Elm is a bad character. I just, normally they would pick someone who is more popular. That's all I'm saying. And Elm is Elm. So I was shocked. Like this just astounded me. And let's look at what all this unit does, because there's a lot. We have Jaws of Closure, which we have Slaying, and ignores Savior. After unit acts and after Canto, inflicts undefended on closest foes in 5 spaces. And with foes in 3 rows and 3 columns, you get attack speed, defense res -5, and 50% DR piercing. If HP is greater than 25% at start of combat, you get attack speed, defense res plus X, which is 15% of speed. True damage equals foes in 3 spaces times 8. Flat DR equals foes in 3 spaces times 6. And if unit transforms, you get attack +2 and +1 movement. Whew. Okay, that's a lot. The biggest thing there is that anti-savior thing, and there are definitely ways to get around that. It isn't as quite as amazing as people thought before, because they thought it would just completely negate saviors, but it's pretty close. Like, there was a little bit of a reaction, but just a little bit. Like, this unit is bonkers. As far as new opening goes, you get the Fortune, which remember that's the easy transformation, which basically means you're just always transformed. On Aetherraid's defense, it happens instantly, which, why would you have this unit on Aetherraid's defense? I'm not sure, but if it transformed or foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, you get an Omni +9 Null Guard, more true damage, more flat DR, more special flat DR, and 7 HP healing post-combat. Okay, that's already a lot of true damage that we're getting out of this weapon, and we're not through with the kit yet. If I were to complain about one thing, I would complain that I can't put Trample on this unit, so it is harder for me to get Desperation, but I mean, this unit smashes things. We're gonna look at it a little bit, but there's a lot of true damage there, and the feud effect from Preempt Screech is perfect for this unit. It's really a callback to Embla, and it's kind of a remix of it, and a very interesting way to remix it. Yeah, this unit really does a lot of damage, and I'm curious to see what kind of upgrades you end up getting, but just as a support, I mean, getting rid of Savior it's top tier. It's not 100% unique, but the ability to use it on offense and as a mythic is absolutely crazy. He will suffer from the same thing as Embla did, and he really wants to be in modes where you can be straight up and down. And keep in mind, Summoner duels, sometimes Arena are you have the offset to keep things from this happening. But the thing that I was utterly unprepared for was how much true damage you were able to get out of this unit. Let's look at it. So, true damage of 58. That is excellent. That is a very hard hit, and you get a boosted damage of 59. So you've got very good boosted damage, very good true damage, and a threat range of 4, which is okay. You can add in more in different ways, but for the most part, this unit is going to be a cleanup unit. But according to this, you don't have to make this unit a cleanup unit. You could make this unit your carry, which is nutty. Let's look at it. You can see what I'm talking about. So this blew me away. I mean, this is with all of the other stuff happening, but still, I mean, Rhea, Nidhogger, Hector, and Corrin all absolutely go down. The fact that Marnie survives this is crazy to me, but a lot of that is how I have this set up. I have everyone set up as a defense unit except for Marnie, and so they have a lot of people around them. I find in Arena, I don't get as many people around them, and that takes away a lot of the bonuses and true damage and flat DR that Elm gets. Elm is absolutely an Aether Raids unit, and if anything were to prove that out more, that does it. But still, just look at that. Like, this can be your melee carry and can absolutely smack things and then open the gate for the rest of your team to come in and just demolish stuff. That is nutty out of a unit that is really looked like he was designed more for just pure support. And the support is top tier, and these results are top tier, and the mobility is okay but workable. Everything about this unit is just tops, and I am continually impressed with how easy he has made Astra Season for me, and this unit is a must-have right now if you're an Aether Raids fan, just flat out. This unit is that good, and the fact that he can also obliterate things, just icing on the cake. And that's crazy because this is very good icing. This unit is fantastic, and I'm going to stop gushing about it, but you guys have to know how good this is. Like, this is phenomenal. Excellent unit. Make this unit a merge project, period.
This has to be done.
So here we are back at Hræsvelgr, and what can I say? This unit is bonkers and better than I really gave her credit for. I feel like we've talked about her before, but this is different. We have Quieting Claw, we have Slaying to closest foes and foes in 2 spaces. You get Speed Defense -7, Exposure, and Null Miracle. We talked about how good that is. In combat, you get an Omni +5 and Attack Speed Defense -10. That's conditional. You get the uncapped true damage of statuses ×3. I can tell you from experience, I've kind of been doing an average of how many bonuses you get. It's generally around 22 in the current meta. That could go up or down, but most likely it'll go up because they keep giving us bonuses. You get 40% DR and 50% DR piercing, and then of course the transform with +1 movement and +2 attack. Divine Talon is the same as we saw before. This is start of turn to unit and allies within 2 spaces. You get the Sapphy Cleanse of penalties. You get the 1 HP friendly fire, which I don't understand. And then you get start of turn to dragons, beast, infantry, and armored allies, +1 movement, which again is better than we give it credit for. Mobility, particularly on a team like hers that you're going to be working with player phase, is very, very good. And then if transformed, you get an Omni +5, Null Follow-Up, Null Guard, and the Excel style damage reduction of 12 flat DR and 12 flat DR versus specials as well. As far as the build, we are not doing a +1 here, although we probably could have. You saw it already. Trample, though, is very, very good on this unit. Beast Agility is definitely my preference for the B. When you have this much true damage, though, you have a lot of leeway. The reason Trample is so good is because how good Desperation is right now. And unless you're going up against BK, most near saves just don't have a counter for it because the far saves are taking that up. Regardless, all of this stuff, fantastic. This unit is really just going to smash things. You aren't going to be surprised by this, but the true damage is 83 and the boost damage is 67. As far as stats, they are exactly the same as New Year's Hræsvelgr. You remember the little things were the difference in how the unit supported their team. Threat range of 4. The thing that is different is how this unit blows everything out of the water. That Null Miracle is so incredibly strong, and versus Rhea, Nidhogr, Hector, Marnie, Corrin, I need to build this unit up just for Arena Assault, honest to God, because I just need one more unit that can take out these crazy, crazy things, as well as BK. I can't say enough good things about this unit. This is one of the exceptions where normally units in this tier are good across the board at everything. They have amazing support. They have great killing power. They have all of that. Look at Elm that we just talked about. There's not a way that unit isn't good. Hræsvelgr doesn't really excel in those other things, but she's just the delete button. When a unit can waltz in and take out the most powerful unit on the board, you have to pay attention. And I don't see a case where this unit gets worse, is the thing. There's a possibility that this unit just is getting started because of how this unit skills. We've seen that in a little bit with Chrom, but keep in mind with Chrom, you have uncapped stat bonuses. Stat bonuses are not what drive the game and probably aren't what's going to drive the game for quite some time. True damage, however, uncapped true damage based on the single thing that they have been expanding the most of, that is invaluable, and this unit gets that, and this unit takes advantage. And I mean, you give this unit Eirika Ring and then she gets it twice. I don't have much more to say to that. There are probably going to be upgrades you can get to her, but for the most part, she gets exactly what she needs, which is unlimited true damage, which is nutty. You add on Null Miracle and it gets nuttier, and Hræsvelgr is the best pure nuke in the game, hands down. and I can't say much better about her.
I won't show mercy.
The last unit on this list is Camilla, and you knew she was coming up. This unit is incredible because of her mobility. I am continually impressed with the crazy amount of things you can do with a unit that gets almost unlimited movement across the board. That is this unit. Giving this unit pass was such a huge mistake. I don't know what they were thinking. Honest to God, it is nutty. Let's take a look here. I mean, Axe of Dusk, so we have Slaying, lots of Canto. At start of player or enemy phase on foes in 2 spaces of a foe, you get speed defense -7, discord, and deep wounds. So, you know, the thing that stops healing. You get an Omni +14, and that's conditional. You get true damage equals statuses on foe plus 2 spaces ×3, which is what we just saw. That ridiculous uncapped damage this unit has as well, along with all of this other stuff. You get cooldown +1 per attack. You get potent follow-up, which is, again, you get so this unit is going to hit multiple times with that amount of true damage. As far as Tut, you get Pass, Warp to Divine Vein in 5 spaces. To unit and allies within 2 spaces, you get attack speed +6 and 50% DR piercing. So you get support as well. At start of turn on closest foes +2 spaces, you get Divine Vein Haze. And I mean, keep in mind, you get a lot of the battle of the terrain here. And if 2 terrains are supposed to show up in the same spot, they just delete. And that is to your advantage. I know this unit can't warp there, but if you have someone like Robin trying to throw it on ice, suddenly the ice disappears and the defense is down and you get to rush in. If you get Hector with Divine Vein Stone, that just goes away. It's a big part of how that unit and helps the team around him. Past that, you have speed defense -5 and more true damage because that's what she needed, equal to 20% of speed and no follow-up. Just because she needed no follow-up, right? So what do we have for the build? We have Trample and Tut, which she obviously came with. Haze Slice and Fatal Smoke 4 are actually really good on her and good upgrades if you have them to give. She can work just fine otherwise, but particularly Fatal Smoke on her is fantastic and something you probably want to do. But the Eirika ring on her is almost just a necessity. You get to hit so many more times and just demolish things. The thing that this unit struggles with is that she's just made of glass and absolutely explodes when someone attacks her back. The ability to hit twice helps negate any shenanigans that might happen that keep those units alive, and it makes her the closest thing to unstoppable that we have. There are definitely ways to stop her, and I am curious as we get Anathema stacking and you get Rhea on top of that, along with things like Imbue, and we're going to get bulkier tanks that help stop her, but man, that just makes it so much harder for all of the other nukes in the game, and she has absolutely raised the level of insanity that we have seen, and she has passed. Did I mention that 7 times yet? Pass. So, I mean, true damage of 82. Boosted damage of 64 and a range of 6. That's amazing. All of those are off the charts numbers, and this unit has them. It's crazy. You're not going to be surprised by this, but when we look at the Sims, she beats everybody because that's what she does. This unit is bonkers. Again, there are defenses that you can rig around stopping this unit. The problem is that if you push them that far, all of these very bulky saviors that are designed to be able to stop that, well, they come against you, and then you're just screwed because you don't have enough firepower to take them out. Summoner, she is an issue that is interesting to deal with, and I'm curious where things end up with her, because we're going to have something that stops her eventually, and I don't know what that looks like. She is a premier nuke in every single mode in the game, period. If you ever merged up, she would destroy Arena and have fun with it. This unit is absolutely bonkers. I can't say enough things about her. The only thing I will say is, if I'm being completely honest, this unit is probably not S tier and is probably S plus tier just because of what she does. That is, I didn't make an S plus tier, and I do think she's at the hairy edge of moving that, and I still think the other units are very, very good compared to her. But just know that it's close, and I almost made her own Camilla tier because she's just that good right now. So there you have it, the full tier list. And S tier, we talked about it, but these units just absolutely shatter things. I can't say enough good things about them, but they're probably less debatable than the other pieces on that. And I would love to hear in the comments who you would rearrange and why. I really like to hear the why. That helps me update what I'm looking at. Tell me what units you're using, how you're using them, and why you think they are better or worse than what I have here. I would love to hear it. These things take literal months to make, and I miss things. I love getting feedback from you guys. Drop it down there. I've been recording for 5 hours now. You guys hopefully won't hear an episode that's long, but we're not done yet. Just a quick plug for the FEHology Store. What we wanted was a place to actually get Fire Emblem stuff, because it is so hard to find any of it. Most of the official stuff is not in print anymore. So we decided to make our own. We have all of these designs that I'm showing here in sticker and t-shirt and mug and sometimes journal or something other crazy like a pillow. If you see something you like, go grab it. If you have any ideas that you'd like up in the store, let me know. But back to the episode. The thing that I really set out to do was to look at what makes a good nuke, because that has become harder and harder to quantify in a quick fashion. Me and along with a lot of the other FEHtubers, most of us have to make a decision on how good all the units are in a banner within the span of minutes. For me, it's about a half an hour. And in that half an hour, I make tier lists and descriptions and stat analyses. That's very, very quick. And so I need tools to be able to help me make informed decisions. And one of those is just looking at how much true damage. That is the reason we started that on the channel, was to show you guys what we were looking at when we evaluated a unit. True damage right now, and we talked about it a little bit in the How to Deal Damage episode, but true damage is absolutely the thing that defines how good a unit is. For those of you who don't do curve fits, I need you to know how perfectly this fits. This does not happen. Like, this generally, you get a much messier scatter plot that you kind of have to interpret a bit. It was not the case with this. You can clearly look at this and look at how exactly things go and how true damage affects how this is going. There's a couple questions you should be asking them. One of them is, why is this not linear? That really represents the different kinds of units that you have to go against. And in order to take out multiple different kinds of units, you have to have more and more true damage. And that's not a linear thing. You look at the amount that Hræsvelgr's and Cam has versus the amount that Elm has. And you really do need just a bonkers amount to be able to get up to that height. I don't have data shown here on the two other things, but I wanted to talk to them. One of them was boost damage. Boost damage did not have nearly as clean a line on this, but it definitely had an effect. And I think you can see that play out. The few outliers that we have on here, you can pretty clearly mark them as boost damage juggernauts, and that push them past where they belong. But you can also see that in a lot of the units here where they rank either higher or lower. They have higher or lower boost damage than the units around them, and that pushes them to new heights. The thing about boost damage is it's a little more complicated in how it is affected by other things. We talked about weapon triangle advantage, which absolutely affects boost damage. The other thing that affects boost damage is whether your attack goes negative or not. Whether the opponent has so much defense and so many daunts that your attack goes into the negative, and that definitely goes into boost damage, whereas true damage ignores that. So it's such a clear indicator of how you're going to do. The last thing I looked at was effective attack, and that is the number after you account for all of the in-combat things, and there was no correlation to that. Now, I do not think... we talk about all... Stats don't matter. We talked about that. That is a fallacy. There are cases with special units like a Hræsvelgr where you can do a level 1 and just absolutely demolish things. That is true, but that's more of an outlier. Stats do matter, especially in how they affect boost damage and how a lot of the true damage that we have is affected by the stats, but there's not a clear correlation. You're not going to look at a unit and say, this unit gets 112 effective attack, therefore it is good. Whereas you can look at a unit that says, this unit meets the threshold of 40 true damage and therefore is going to do a lot of good in the meta. Basically what that means is things are a little more complicated than just to make a clear indicator like that. But when you're evaluating nukes, I have that little true damage meter. Look at that. That's going to be what tells you how successful your unit's going to be, unless they have bonkers amount of bonus damage. I don't know how long that's going to go, but likely because of the way the damage formula is written, it will be like that for a bit. There's another thing that we didn't talk about, and that's how to build your 4-star units. Because a lot of you are masochists like me and like to take older units and revamp them into something amazing. And there are a lot of good ways to build nukes right now and good enough supports that you can make them work. If you look at where all of these units sit, you are in about D tier and on a higher level of that. If you remember, those units do pretty well, and they definitely are role players, and they are things that if you have the right support, you can make them work. This is how for each of these. You are probably sick of seeing all of these, but just to reiterate, for Cavalry, Haze Slice, Blue Skies 4, Potent Assault, and Attack Speed Insight Hone. Frederick does really good with this, and this is a way that you can build him up. The reason I have all axes, by the way, is because Arcane Giant Axe, the swords, and the lances are waiting for their new updated arcane version, which will likely be the same as Arcane Giant Axe, just based on what we have seen in the tomes and everything else. For your flyers, you have Haze Slice, Trample, Potent Assault, and Deadly Miasma. For your infantry, you have Haze Slice, Slice with Sparrow, Potent Finish, and Endless Tempest. Again, the theory there is, all of them have Eirika ring, by the way. The theory there is you're going to hit as many times as possible. We don't talk about this much throughout the episode, throughout the hours that I recorded this, but understand that the reduction in your damage from potent does affect your true damage as well. What you are hoping is that you have crossed a threshold and that you are still doing damage. So you're getting your big hits up front. You are most likely getting Haze Slice procced during those. And then the reduced hits, you are getting less damage, but still doing little pieces of it in order to chip down, and if they have Miracle, kicking them out of that and being able to destroy them. That's really the thing there. Miracle exacerbates that and makes that even more important. And that's why you want the 5 hits that you've got with Haze Slice and Potent. So, this is the way you want to build your 4 stars. Keep that in mind. I know this is expensive, but if I'm being completely honest, it is always expensive to build 4-star units. So the last little piece of this are the takeaways. I've said it enough here, but true damage is the biggest priority and the best way of determining success. In nukes, just that is the way you want to go. Boost damage is the second factor, but you need a ton of it. Mobility is generally what puts a unit over the top. And you can usually find another way around mobility, but for the truly elite units, they have things like Elm that can apply the debuff across 5 spaces, or Camilla who can fly across and have a range of 6 spaces. Like, those things are nuts. It's also why Felix is a subpar nuke at this point, but still ranked high because he can get so far across the map. It shouldn't be your driver, to be completely honest. Those other two should come first, but that is the last thing that you really want to put you over the top. If you are interested in learning more about true damage and how that is calculated, I've got an entire video. Go check that out. Members, you are amazing and let me do stupid, crazy things like this. Thank you for all you do for the channel. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.